I've never said this about a song, and I don't know if I will, but like it's like coming. Like the release is that good. The release is that good.
Welcome to Every Album Ever with Mike and Alex. My name is Michael Mansour, and I'm joined, as always, by my thrashing co-host, Alexander Volt. Say hello.
Hello.
This is Every Album Ever, the podcast where we listen to every single album in the world, one artist at a time. That's a whole new discography per episode, except big old giant bands and discographies like this one where we have to split it into multiple parts. And what are we talking about today?
We will finally be closing the book on Swans.
Swans!
And our third part.
Third part. Please, if you're new here or if you're not new here, check out our previous 2 episodes on Swans, which covered every goddamn album, no matter how long it is. We love Swans here. We love Swans here. It's like it's almost like our lightning rod band, where me, you, and Tom are all just all right. We're all Swan page. We're on the same page here. These are like my favorite episodes to do. It's a little sad that this is the last part, but it is a very exciting thing. They just released a brand new album, The Beggar, which came out 4 days ago, as of the release of this episode. So huge thanks to our guy, Tom Osman, our history guy, as well as Swans PR for giving us a review copy. So it allows us to not cram the album, this massive album, in 1 or 2 days.
Yep.
And gave us a little bit time to digest that album, as well as every other album from the reunion onward, which is 2010 up to now. God damn, this is my era of Swans. This is my favorite era of Swans, from a band that is one of my favorite in the world. I mean, if you've seen the other episodes, I've gushed enough about Swans. Your experience with this era?
Yes, this is the era that got me into it, or like this is like what I was listening to. Just because it was the most recent at the time, and it is a very cool era. I think I have like a lot of feelings about the band that are like documented. I don't even know what my favorite era is anymore, but this is up there.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the middle is kind of the messiest.
You mean the 90s period, the Jarbo period?
Yeah. But there's still a lot of bangers.
Oh yeah, there are. Oh yeah. Oh man, we've said it on the last one's episode. No bad album, not a single bad album, and not only a 40-year career, literally 40 years since the release of Filth, but they're so large. The albums are so large. They're so lengthy. Even like when they weren't long, they were usually like they felt exhausting because they pummeled you into dirt. Mm-hmm. But these ones were averaging out 2 hours a pop. Not all of them are 2 hours, but most of them are 2 hours.
This is a insane thing to do in your later years.
Gira is now almost 70, I think. Yeah. Ooh. And he's still, and there's a lot I want to talk about how these albums keep getting made. And it's from day one to now, it has never been easy. It has never been easy. They've never had it set up for them. They had to fucking hustle every single album. Even now, they're the most successful they've ever been, playing to the biggest crowds they've ever had, selling the most, maybe not selling the most because, records don't really sell, but the most successful, and still they have to fundraise every fucking album. It's insane.
It's the fucking nuts to me.
It's devastating. It's devastating because I have trouble naming more an artist with more artistic integrity than Michael Gira, because of how much he doesn't compromise. And yeah, sure, that makes him a monster to everyone he works with, but who cares? I mean, when you're that uncompromising, like, it has to be the best it can possibly be. And no one is paying for that. No one will pay for that. Mm-hmm. Apparently, in 40 years, no one will pay for that except fans, which you have to, spend decades building up.
Yeah, you would think after even 30 years, you would think some record label would this be like, all right, we know what this band is.
Yeah.
We're gonna let them do what they want.
Give them a home or something.
I guess not.
He made Young God Records in the late 90s, and that's where he puts out the Swans albums. I don't think he puts out any other bands anymore. He used to. There's a handful of ones that did well in the early 2000s, but now they're signed to Mute for international releases. So at least there's some sort of like balancing of responsibilities there. And they've always been a Europe band. They've always toured Europe and always done really well in Europe and better in Europe relatively than the US. And I was looking at their tour dates for the Beggar, and I mean, it's just so much Europe. It's just it's like 2 dates in America, or not literally, not exactly 2 dates, but at least someone out there is fucking appreciating it. And also, this is jumping way ahead, but like in some places, like in, I think Czech, I want to say, and maybe Romania. I can't remember, but probably Czech. The fans there are extra dedicated because Swans went there when it was fucking illegal and it was super dangerous. Right.
Yeah, we covered that.
Yeah. So like during the dark years of Swans, they played behind the Iron Curtain, which was insane and very scary and dangerous. And the fans didn't forget. They are fucking still grateful, which is actually kind of beautiful. So where did we leave off on episode 2? They broke up.
Yes, after Soundtracks for the Blind.
Yes. And Soundtracks for the Blind was like Gira's, I have mountains of all these recordings. I need some closure so I can get rid of all of it. So they made the album. A painstaking process of, piecing things together. It was very, very experimental and like kind of cinematic, a lot of soundscapes, a lot more mood, not only a few songs. And then he fucking chucked all the tapes, all the floppy disks, all the everything, split up the band, moved on. Another little funny anecdote about making that album, because they didn't have the technology, they were using like an 8-track or something. So when you're doing that many layers, you got to do the layers and then bounce it to one stereo track and then start the process all over again. So you can keep adding as many layers as you want. But they kept running out of space. So I forgot the engineer's name who was working on it with them. He said, "We don't have enough space. Are you done with these so we can delete them so we can move on? Otherwise we can't." And Michael would be like, yeah. And then the next day he'd be like, "Where's the recording?" He's like, "You said to delete," and it would turn to a giant fight. And that would happen over and over and over again.
Jesus Christ.
And that's kind of what it's like working with Gira. Like he'll want something. He'll try to explain it using these very colorful or not very non-musical terms, get bigger, go lower or less. I don't even mean like pitch lower, just like, give me more, just give me more. And it's like, what does that mean? And you just got to figure it out. Otherwise you just get screamed at. But what comes out is amazing.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Sounds like a fucking nightmare. I was reading the Nick Soulsby book, the Sacrifice and Transcendence. And I didn't realize, I figured there was a lot of nonverbal cues that Michael gave the rest of the band to kind of like, this is what I want. I didn't realize how goddamn specific they were. I think it was the bass player, Chris, who said, he said it in one section and then Michael like confirmed it in a different section, saying that, oh yeah, when he does a certain thing with his eyebrows, he wants me to do this. If he wiggles his tongue around, it means to go staccato. And then later on, Joel's, yeah, so they know that if I wiggle my tongue around, it means to go staccato. How does that mean that?
He's coming up with his own way of conducting.
Absolutely. He's doing like the full-on Mr. Burns in the baseball team.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing that. That's what Gira is. So it's kind of amazing. But yeah, they broke up. His relationship with Jarbo was pretty much just crumbling. Everybody was very bitter and angry. And
this band was bitter and angry? No way.
Some things you just can't. Oh Lord. Yeah, and Jarbo was very optimistic about where the band was going. The band was playing to bigger crowds, getting more popularity, but Michael was done. And he was exhausted and defeated, and he felt he needed to detach from the Swans name. So we started Angels of the Light, started Young God Records, and continued to struggle. Continued to struggle for the entire time. Angels of Light he had like some members that were at the very final lineup of Swans, like Phil Puello, who he's on most of these albums. He moved on to Angels of Light with Michael, along with Christoph, who's also on all these albums. Christoph Hahn, and in and out other musicians, and eventually that petered out. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. This is all just a precursor to the reunion. Yeah, like Young God got Devendra Banhart pretty popular, as well as others that I'm forgetting at the moment. But they're all very Michael was hands-on with all of them. He was like in the studio with them, guiding them. Akron Family is another one, which I was a big fan of their first album, which Michael had a very prominent hand in. Didn't realize how much he had to do with that album.
I owned the, I wonder if I still have it or if I ditched it. I had the Akron Family Angels of Light split.
Oh, the split
album.
Nice. Yeah, he toured with pretty much all the bands that he signed. I mean, there were very few of them, and it was every time he invested in one, it was a big deal because they had no money, and it was right around the time that downloading music became a thing. So very quickly they had to stop signing people because there's literally no way to pay for it. Again, very sad, but. And at a certain Angels of Light show, I don't know exactly what song they were playing, I forget, but there was a moment where Michael was feeling this euphoria, this getting lost in the fucking, I don't know, the cosmic sonic waves of everything. And he remembered Swans and how much more that gave him. Like in that, he's like, maybe I think it's time for more Swans. Shit. So over the course of like a few years, I think he was like planning it and picking the right musicians, and he settled on the fucking dream team. The dream team of course, him on guitar and vocals, Norman Westberg, longtime guitarist on guitar, Christoph Hahn on lap steel, guitar as well, but mostly lap steel, Phil Puello on drums, and Christopher Pravdika on bass. And Thor Harris on percussion. By all accounts, apparently the sweetest, most big-hearted man in the world, Thor Harris.
I know nothing about that man.
He's got a good look to him, and he's a hell of a percussionist. I mean, he looks like a fucking like Beowulf.
Look like a Thor?
Yeah. At least when I saw him, he was just shirtless, covered in hair, long hair, just banging these giant pipes.
Yeah.
It's pretty majestic. But yeah, that's the dream team. And that leads to the reunion in 2010. And we have a lot of insight here from our boy, Tom Osman, our history guy, who you should all follow at all the places. He's done a lot for us. And even in addition to getting us the fucking album early, which was amazing, and thank you. He actually interviewed Michael Gira for Ninoy's magazine a few months ago. And that's where he got access to the album first. And he has some of those snippets here for us. Some really interesting quotes from Michael. He also cites the more recent book that Michael put out called The Knot, which is a complete, the Knot Complete Words for Music, Collected Stories, and Journals. It's a whole bunch of shit that Michael compiled over the 40-year history of this band. And then there's also the Reformation announcement letter from 2010, and as well as a press release for Leaving Meaning from 2019. And we're going to be talking about all kinds. Might as well lead into the actual announcement of the reunion, because do you remember where you were?
I don't even know if I was like really into them yet.
So. You knew who they were, or did you not?
I may have not, or I didn't know they were like broken up.
It was just a band whose name that may have passed.
Yeah, and I wasn't aware of their current status.
Gotcha. I do remember when they reformed, and I talked a little bit about it on, I think on the last one or whatever, and thinking like, really? All right, that's cool, I guess. And I just kind of didn't think about it that much. And I assumed, like most reunions, that it'd be okay at best,
short-lived, maybe
short-lived, or like, oh, it's probably going to sound a lot like the last thing they did, and it's probably not going to. And I didn't really pay much attention to it. And then I started hearing the buzz around it, and then my brother Robert, he was like, I don't know, I heard it's pretty good, and he didn't hear it yet. And I thought, oh, all right. And then I heard it, and I was like, oh, this is not just some reunion. This is a new band.
Yes.
This is a whole thing. And if you know anything about Michael Gira, and you've read anything about how he feels about art, there's no way it was just going to be a reunion. There's like no chance. The man is a psychopath. Like if he's going to bring back Swans, it's going to be done right.
Properly.
Yes. So Tom notes here, he says, where were you when Swans were formed? I remember exactly where I was. I was behind the cash desk working in the children's department of Blackwell's bookshop, Oxford. My friend Alex texted me, Tom, make sure you're sitting down. I sat down. Next text, Swans have reformed. Yes, I was excited. When the new lineup was announced, I'm sure I was disappointed that Jarboe wouldn't feature, but would have been a lot to ask. Yes. A little bit more backstory. I swear to God, Alex will talk more when we talk about the albums. I just did a lot of homework.
No, I knew this was coming.
Oh yeah,
I knew Mike was going to do the heavy lifting.
Fucking, I've been fully knee deep immersed in Swans this past 2 weeks. But during like right after they broke up, and Michael started Young God Records, Jarboe was still heavily involved. Like she registered the domain for Young God Records, and she hired the designers to build the website. She was still answering a bunch of like emails, or she was still very heavily involved until Michael literally said, "Stop, just stop. I need just no more." So she was like effectively cut off from Swans. Like, we need to stop doing this.
That's a damn shame.
It is, when you think about how much she contributed and how great she was in the band.
She's like, outside of Michael, arguably the most important, proactive member.
Important. There were a lot of moments during the last tour before they broke up. I forget exactly who else was in the band, but I believe Christoph was there, and maybe Al Kizzies might have still been there. Ted Parsons? I'm sorry, but during that tour, it was getting, as it usually did, pretty aggressive, and Michael was a lot for them, and it was very tense and uncomfortable. And they rehearsed these songs for days and days and hours, like 8 hours, just one song or like one transition. So like, damn, I want to explain too many things at once. I'll start with the thing I brought up first. So they rehearsed all these things like fucking crazy. And during soundcheck before the show, Michael would start making these changes. And they're like, fuck, man, we're exhausted. We've been on the road for we're dying here. And they were all really, really not on board. And Jarboe was finally like, nope, no more changes. We're fucking no more changes. And she actually stood up and said, no, we all want to kick your ass right now, and actually put it like a stop to it. And it led to a fight, sure, but it worked. And later on, the whole band were like, they like left notes on her keyboard saying like, "We love you, thank you so much." For
yeah.
And what you see is a clear-cut father-mother dynamic. It's like insane.
It's the most extreme father-mother dynamic.
So extreme. Oh my God. And one thing that they did, that I believe they did it for most of that whole era, but they definitely do it in this era. When they rehearse, it's pretty incredible, because like so much of like the live performances, you have to be there to see how insane it is. But a lot of it is just one gigantic long piece of music that goes on for like 2-3 hours. And the way they do that is they rehearse. Anybody who's been in a band, you rehearse the set. You go over little parts in the set that you maybe need work. Not them. They work so hard on the transitions between songs that you do the whole set over, and then you figure out where like the weak parts are, and then you do the whole set all over again, fixing those little weak parts, and then you just do that over and over and over and the whole thing from the beginning every time.
This is equally as crazy as Sparks playing all their albums in quick succession live.
At least that was separated by days. Like, at least
Sure.
we're going to do a whole album this day. And like, I guess that, even though it's a lot of songs to fucking remember and insanely impressive.
They said the issue was they could nail the songs, but then you get deeper into the discography and then it's like, oh shit, do you remember how to play the older songs?
Yep. You can't.
And you don't.
Yeah. You kick something out every time you throw something else in. We're very finite, our little brains, even the special musician types. But so here's the reunion letter, the message to I actually do remember this letter. Gira says, "Hello there. I've decided to focus my energy on Swans once again. I'm reactivating that project. A new album is in the works and touring will follow in the fall of 2010. There was a point a few years ago during a particular show when I was on tour with Angels of Light with Akron Family serving as the backing band. It was during the song Provider." This is basically, I forgot what it was, and this is the whole thing. Seth's guitar was sustaining one open chord very loudly, rising to a peak, then crashing down again in a rhythm that could have been the equivalent of a deep and soulful act of copulation. His metaphors are fucking hilarious and
they're
colorful.
Yeah.
I thought right then, Michael, Swans wasn't so bad after all. Haha, it brought back in a flood of memories, or maybe not memories, more tangible reimmersion in the sensation of Swans music rushing through my body in waves, lifting me up towards what I can only assume will be my only experience of heaven. I fucking love the way he speaks and writes. It's so colorful. It's difficult and probably pointless to try to describe this experience. It's ecstatic, I suppose, a force of simultaneous self-negation and rebirth. Really, I probably only experienced this a handful of times to such an extreme extent during the entire 15-year history of Swans. When I ask myself if I believe in God, I start to say no, but then I remember that sensation, and I'm not so sure. So I want more of that before my body breaks down to such an extent that it won't be possible anymore. So I'm doing it. Oh boy. I'm not going to read the entire fucking statement, but one big important part of it. He says, one thing I want to point out right now, this is not a reunion. It's not some dumbass nostalgia act. It is not repeating the past. After 5 Angels of Light albums, I needed a way to move forward in a new direction. And it just so happens that revivifying the idea of Swans is allowing me to do that. So he got the dream team, obviously very meticulous how he handpicked each person over the course of a while. And even guys like Christoph, who I believe at the end of the original Swans run, he said, "I will never work with Michael ever again." And he was so casually like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." And it's fucking wacky.
There's probably a point where you're like, I want nothing to do with that person. And then time passes, and then it's like, well, I never really got to those highs. Very similar to what I never got to those highs that I did in Swans. Sure, let's.
You start to remember the good old days.
Yeah,
like, we did have a good thing going there.
Yeah, you can't see it when it's happening, but nostalgia will help you through it.
It's also the thing where every struggling successful person looks back fondly of their tougher years. Mm-hmm. It's like, during them they were horrible, but what they made you is very much a beautiful thing. And I think even Norman, he actually reached out to Michael first. He'd been in several bands, one of which was Heroin Chic, one of my favorite bands ever. And I think he lost his job, and he was like, "Fuck, I don't know what to do." And he's like, "Hey man, if you have anything, whatever, like I'm available." And then just so happened, Michael was in the process of reviving Swans, and then a year later, he's like, "All right, come on, buddy, we're back in business." And here it is. Leads us all the way up to 2010, and a very wild time period in album, and go boy, this is we about to get into it, people. So during this whole era, it's still ongoing, of course, but we'll be covering 6 albums, 6 gigantic albums. So this is going to be a very long episode in case it wasn't obvious.
One album's a reasonable length.
This next album is a reasonable length. and the rest are not. But first one, of course, 2010. Last one, fucking last week, 2023. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, yeah. So this is 2010's My Father Will Guide Me Up a Rope to the Sky. Now, for those listening, this intro is 3 minutes. So it's worth hearing just the intro, and then we'll cut to...
Okay.
Yeah, because the intro is live. I'm talking now, so I can get out of the way. Live, this intro went on for like 10, 20 minutes. So 3 minutes is relatively light.
Yeah.
But it's also a huge part of the song.
Mm-hmm. And that's how warped my sense of time is, where I was just like, yeah, the intro's not...
3 minutes seems like a breeze at a certain point.
Yeah.
An absolute breeze. Oh, man.
That's kind of common in this era. I like the false sense of security you get with like the bells and the chimes.
You get these really beautiful percussive elements, and then you're just beaten down so quickly after. Underneath the pounding, you hear all kinds of really cool, insane drum work too. It's so off, like herky-jerky, like you don't know where it's coming from. It's just pure chaos. God damn. All right, let's lower it and then jump forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Like 3 minutes.
Did actually do a timestamp.
Oh, nice.
So...
Chills.
Look
Get
at how good
chills.
that timestamp was.
That was a great timestamp.
Sometimes they're off, but...
Yeah. It's so sinister, but beautiful.
See that man, Beggar, in a man I love, sort of
The hair is raised, and you just feel where it's gonna drop, where it's gonna get so big.
The drummer is an absolute workhorse in this era.
He's a kind of a percussive genius. I love Phil.
see that man, zero man, I love, in a man, I love, follow man, hero.
And yeah, I think if people were experiencing the breakup in real time, I think this is exactly what you want.
It is. God, this. Oh,
It's still Swans, but it's different.
it is. It feels so much heavier, but in a just different way. I don't want to fucking turn it down. I love this song so much.
I feel like in this era, the mandolin player is just there to make like.
Oh, the fucking dynamics here. It's a lap steel, and that's Christoph.
Oh, okay, Lapsil.
Dude,
okay.
So I saw them on the tour for the Seer, and
I'm gonna look up what year I saw them while you're reminiscing.
I mean, it was as intense as anybody will tell you, especially at that time period. That was actually probably the perfect time to ever see them on that tour. It was like they were so tight. But Christoph was like right in the front, right, and he was like right in front of me. And this motherfucker, everyone goes so hard all the time. That's part of the job. That's why it's such a demanding band and why everyone is so miserable in the band, because Michael rips it out of you. And when he says give me more, he wants to see you in pain. He wants to know you're giving it everything.
Yeah.
So I'm watching Christoph go ham on this thing. Like strumming so hard and so fast to the point where his pick was dust. His pick was like, I watch it go from a pick to a nub, dust everywhere in the air. And then after he was done with the section, he just, it looked like his hand caught on fire. That's how hard they go. By the way, personal favorite.
Oh, wow.
This is, I would consider this to be the best reunion album ever made, hands down.
Man, I didn't come ready for that, but it is very good. Near perfect.
I would call this perfect. Obviously, there are parts that are not going to be perfect for people. This is still Swans.
Mhm.
Swans is not everyone's band, but this is one of the most honest and I would say the most honest and easy entry point for anyone new across the board from day one to now.
Yes, it's the intensity and ambient drone stuff in a condensed way that doesn't exhaust you.
This is a 40-minute album. It's one of the rare 40-minute albums they have, kind of.
Yes.
Unless you count like the early stuff. But every song is so fucking amazing. And it's perfectly diverse. And nothing overstays its welcome even a little bit. Go ahead.
Also, I'm such an idiot. I saw them on the tour for this album.
Oh, for this one. Holy shit.
I just and I had no idea they were like I was just like stumbling into it. I saw they were playing. Yeah, this
Oh man, I am very envious. Oh, that goddamn. Cuz dude, so what this album does that no other album in this era does is it's almost like a proof of concept album. At least it kind of seems that way because it gives you a bunch of different flavors in very bite-sized format. Bite-sized for them. These are still long songs, but the longest song here is the intro, No Words, No Thoughts, which is 9 minutes, which is nothing. Like 9 minutes is like the shortest songs on the other albums.
That's a cakewalk, baby.
Nothing. But even that one, it's like it doesn't even remotely feel that long because the intro is just basically one song and then it goes into this other part where it's a whole song. And then as it keeps going on, it goes into this fucking amazing acapella part. It's like a very deep, interesting song that has many, many movements in a way. But I brought that up because track 2 is Reeling the Liars In. And it is like, all right, we gave you this crazy intense ones, switching gears, fucking Western acoustic male choir, fucking beautiful.
That kind of felt like if for some reason you hadn't heard of Swans, but you knew Angels of Light, like, hey, this'll
It's like
this is some middle ground here.
Exactly. It's the transition from Angels of Light to Swans. That's what this album essentially is. And Reeling Liars In, like, it's not on very many songs. That might be one of the few songs on here, or the only song on here, where you really get like a nice full male choir. It's all the members except for Gira doing backup vocals. And there's something that struck me when I first heard this album, 13 years ago, about that. It's like, it felt so, what's the word? I don't want to say aged because it's like an age, like a whiskey aged, because like these old men, it's a male choir, these old men who have seen everything, just humming along to this dark ass music. It just felt so honest and like sincere and real and gritty too, because this album is, it sounds great, but it has like the coldest and grittiest and dirtiest production out of everything from this whole era. I don't know exactly why it ended up coming out that way, but it has this raw feel to it. A little fun fact about No Words, No Thoughts. That was, I don't know if that was the third or fourth song they recorded. But what happened was so Michael assembled this whole team and they didn't even all sit in the same room together until they went to the studio to start like rehearsing the stuff. And No Words, No Thoughts was like day 3 or 4. And apparently in the studio, one of the pipes burst and it was just flooding the whole studio. And fucking my boy Thor, he just jumps up there with a bunch of duct tapes and just saves the day, which is also kind of funny. I don't know how it clearly wasn't that much damage, but that's a fucking all right. Goddamn, like the trouble never ends, I suppose.
It would have been great if he had like skills and wielding, and he was just up there with like a hammer, or a blowtorch.
'Cause that's not the first time I've heard of him saving the day and like jumping in and like fixing things. Like he seems like a really handy guy. But the day one, the first thing they played as a band, Jim.
Oh shit!
One of the best, I would say, one of the best songs ever written. I fucking love this song so much.
Yeah, it's weirdly normal for Swans, but it's still very heavy. It's one of my favorite songs on the album for sure.
Absolutely, it's simple. It's got a very simple bass line, but it gives this nice, sludgy, brutal Western vibe to it, and it just meant the build up on every song here, and I'm specifically that one. I mean, it builds up and it gets so fucking big and moving, and then at the end, they rain it back down, and then the slide guitars come in, and it turns. Oh, it's just gorgeous, and it has like a very soft landing. The way that song ends, like it's a beautiful little kind of bell curve of a song. And I guess that's apparently that song is about J.G. Thirlwell from Fetus, hence the name Jim.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the most random career. Whenever his name comes up, it's just
Fascinating dude. That guy's a fascinating dude.
he's kind of everywhere.
Yeah, he definitely is. Yes, Jim is the fucking man, and the song is also the man. My Birth is next, which is another. They don't have very many songs. I don't think they have any songs like that one from this point forward.
It's weird because it's on this album, not their whole career, but on this album, it's probably the most like chaotic and noisy.
It's pretty key, yeah. Very herky jerky too.
And then it's kind of jarring that it's over because I'm like, shouldn't that be like a minimum of 12 minutes of that?
You'd think so. It's not even 4 minutes. It's under 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a great little proof of concept thing, like where you hear a bite size of this weird, strange rhythm, herky jerky thing, pure chaos. It doesn't really have any build up. It's just all chaos from the start. And then You Fucking People Make Me Sick. I'm wearing the shirt of it right now. That song, good God Almighty.
It's disturbing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They got backup vocals from, I believe, Devendra Banhart, as well as Gira's daughter, Seer. She was like, I don't know, 8 years old or something around there, under double digits, singing like Call and Response kind of vocals with Michael there.
Oh, and I see Mercury Rev.
Mercury Rev. Yep. Grasshopper from Mercury Rev. Check out that episode. He plays mandolin on, I don't know how many songs, but several songs here, as well as the next album, I believe. I think Gira's ex-wife, Siobhan, also sang on this album. I don't know where exactly. Maybe You Fucking People as well. But that song. So it's like, this really, really pretty. It's a song of juxtaposed halves. Let's just call it that. First is acoustic melancholy, very emotionally dark. You get his daughter's vocals. You got the really light Devendra vocals, and then of course Michael's deep bass. And then the second half is the most horrific, terrifying, cacophonous thing they've ever done.
It's really crazy that it's kind of led by a piano of all instruments.
Yeah,
too.
I forgot how they do it. They're like smacking a piano. They're not playing a piano.
It feels like you were walking on the street and someone dropped a baby grand piano on you.
Exactly that. It sounds like and you get these rolling toms that sound like apocalypse. They sound like the world is ending. They sound like bombs going off in airships and shit. It's like, it's a truly horrific sound, but it's also not like, it's not distorted. It's not big and loud and distorted.
No, not at all.
It's just scary.
Yes.
Like, it would fit so well in any horror movie. It's so good. Oh God, I love it. And then why I think this is such a fucking perfect album. You're following that horror with Inside Madeline.
Yeah.
One of the catchiest bass lines of all time, almost fucking Sabbathy.
Yeah, I love the like bass and drums, the way they lock up in that song, and then it almost gets like Bowie-esque.
In which section are you talking about?
Probably towards the end.
When it softens up.
Yeah.
Because it goes to this crazy buildup where it turns into pure madness. And then again, it drops off a cliff and it goes not just mellow, but like elegant and romantic sounding. Very pretty.
Yeah. I guess Bowie's a very, specifically like Aladdin.
Aladdin Sane.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very romantic sound. A beautiful fucking song. Incredible song. And again, pacing on this album is incredible because you follow that with Eat in Prison.
This picks you right back up.
Right back up, dude. And it's such a great riff. It's that main riff, I feel like sounds the most Swansy out of everything here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I feel that way, but there's certain songs where it's like, that's just Swansy. And I don't know why it feels that way. Just there's a song on the next album that's super Swansy.
Mm-hmm.
It just reminds me of like the early 90s period. Just takes me back there immediately.
There's a level of if you will, filth to it that's just like that feels like home.
Yeah. And industrial almost and repetitive and very driving and
because this era not too much where you think industrial.
No, it's maybe at some point, maybe at the very end, bits and pieces, but overall not really. And on Eat in Prison, I remember reading a quote years and years ago that Michael thought, because there's a big pounding section on halfway through that just goes on for a while, maybe like 2 minutes or so. I remember him saying that he thought it was, I think, cowardly that he didn't go on longer. So during live shows, that section would go on for like 20 minutes. It's like, all right, I get it.
That's why seeing live music's so important. You just get something different.
And it's not only that, every album after this, the songs on those albums were basically constructed live. They started out as a different song and then formed into what we have on the album. And that happens repeatedly. I'll probably point them out specifically when we get there. But the closer is Little Mouth, which is the closest thing to Reeling the Lyres In on the softer side. Very acoustic and dirgy, kind of Western sounding.
I feel like I need to revisit Angels of Light after this.
I've only heard so little of them.
Yeah.
I feel it's my duty as well as to listen more to the Skin albums that he did with Jarbo.
Oh, that's right.
Which I heard a little bit from, and boy, oh boy, so goddamn cool. But yeah, Little Mouth, it's a beautiful closer because it's lulling you back down. It's easing it gently. It's one of the best closers from this entire era, I believe. It does close a cappella, which is Michael singing, and that has a very solemn effect on the ears. It just feels like it felt so mature that everything about this felt like he's completely grown as a man and musician. And obviously the albums get more elaborate as we go on, but like just coming back from, a huge break. And then this is what we get. It's like, I couldn't have begged for something better.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite albums of all time. And when I first heard it, I was saying that Robert told me, he's like, yeah, I hear it's pretty good. I don't know. And I heard it. I'm like, it is my favorite Swans album. It was immediately my favorite Swans album. God damn, it's good.
Yeah. I was thrown into the deep end where, I was still trying to consume Neurosis, and then this is like, oh, you're just getting to normal with Neurosis. And I'm just like, fuck, it's a lot.
Yeah, and it's like only certain songs you could put on for someone, and they're like, what the fuck is this? Because a lot of this is like, if you're at least into heavy music, you can appreciate the actual beauty and artistic value in most of this. Only moments like, you fucking people make me sick, or like, oh, okay, that's intense. You don't put that on in front of company. That's pretty, yeah.
There are parts of songs you could throw in front of normal people.
Yeah, for sure. And this album, at least, most of it's pretty condensed.
Mhm.
Yeah, this one is you can show anyone Revealing the Liars in, and
Yeah.
anyone can appreciate that. So we got some notes from our boy Tommy. Says this album was part funded with sales of an acoustic demo album Michael Gira recorded, sold with handmade packaging, which will be a recurring thing that they do, called I Am Not Insane. This is a model that Gira has continued with subsequent Swans albums. He says, for this album, I remember there were a variety of tiered purchase options where you pre-order the album, and depending on the tier, you could also get the I'm Not Insane demo album plus a book of artwork, which is the option that Tom chose, plus having your name written on the album sleeve as an executive producer. And he says, I drew the line at this payment option, but now I wish I'd forked out the money so I could have my name on a Swans album. If I remember well, the highest tier got you a backstage meet and greet with the whole band after a show. And he says, Oxbow is another band who uses fan funding model to support an album, which they did for 2017's Thin Black Duke. And other bands have sure done the same. And he asks us if we can think of any other examples.
Not off the top of my head, no. I cannot. I'm sure I know it's somewhere in my brain, but
yeah, I can't think of any other that are with this level of prestige, quote unquote. I mean, because if you know Swans, you respect them. But most people don't know Swans. So you know what? That's the band I was thinking of. Secret Cheese 3, one of my favorite bands ever, and another band with insane artistic integrity who makes no money because the world doesn't want a difficult art. They do that a lot. Secret Cheese 3 does that a lot, and I hope now they can put out some real, like a full length at least, because Trey is making some money with Mr. Bungle again. So hopefully he can finance some more Secret Chief stuff. I love them so much, and they haven't been active in a while. One of the best live shows ever. But some of the guests we have in here, like I said before, Devendra Banhart. Have you heard any of his stuff?
I have not. I, for some reason, thought he was like a Father John Misty type guy, and never.
I see why you would think that. A lot of the stuff Michael signed was like acoustic driven. I mean, he is acoustic driven, but I haven't heard him. I think his fifth album, Cripple Crow, according to Tom, kind of had some pop to it. He did pretty well.
No, I remember seeing this guy's name around. I was just like, I have no interest, but if I knew about the Swans connection.
Yeah, when he first started, he had only put out like maybe one album or like a demo or something. And Gira found him, and he put out his second and third album, maybe more. And apparently this dude is like so sensitive, and he was really nervous, and he had like really bad stage fright, and he would like freak out in the middle of sets, and like a really sensitive soul. And then you get Michael, who's fucking just pummeling him in the studio. Not to be mean, because he is a psycho genius who's like, I need to get this emotion out of him so it can be recorded. So he would get out of him, and Devendra would be like crying and stuff. And then Michael would just like change gears. He would like do something to make him laugh, and just like, all right, we're done with that part. Let's bring the mood back. It's like the way he pulls things out of people. It's like, I can't ever imagine anybody, I can't imagine any sane person doing that.
I was going to say, do you mean abuse?
Abuse. It's absolute, because that's really what it is. You have to like literally abuse them, because you know what's going to come out is going to be amazing, and you know they're going to like it and they're going to appreciate it. But in the moment, it's so uncomfortable and it's so harsh and mean. And I couldn't never do that. I couldn't.
And Phil Spector's like, that's why I locked Dee Ramone in a closet for 3 days.
Allegedly. Wait, who was it that discredited what Dee said? It was another Ramone who said like it wasn't that bad.
I don't know. I just feel like Dee was so out there. Like, I don't.
You wild man.
Like, he's so wild. Like, why would he lie? Because his life is so crazy.
That is true. It might not have been him. Someone made the claim that Phil Spector had the gun on them and wouldn't let them leave or whatever. And then one of the members said the gun was there, but I didn't feel like threatened. I could leave anytime you wanted. So it's like, all right.
We'll see. I think, with Phil Spector being a murderer,
bona fide to get convicted, proven.
I'm more inclined to believe the person who felt.
It's a better story too, honestly. Like, you wouldn't let the Ramones leave.
What? Yeah. Okay, we digress.
That's fucking hilarious. And like we said, we have a Grasshopper from Mercury Rev, which is very fun. And we have a Steve Moses, who one of the founding members of Alice Donut on trombone here. Bill Reiflin, who recently died in 2020. He was a longtime collaborator, apparently, of Al Jorgensen from, of course, Ministry and Revolting Cocks. Also, he was in King Crimson up until the day he died, on drums, of course. And then he was also a member of Angels of Light. But he plays, drums, piano, 12-string, synths, organs, a lot of stuff on here. And here's another last thing about this album, because this is already a 15-hour long episode. The cover art, which puzzled me for years. It's by Beatrice Petticcioni. She's an Italian visual artist based in New York. And she doesn't do like album art. This is like her only album credit. And I finally realized, like, because I looked at this cover for years, I'm like, is that a bunch of laundry detergent, cocaine, a galaxy? What is it? So it's a galaxy, but it's the way she makes it is like with this weird medium, and there's like water involved. So she, it's not very exact, but the way she does it, it ends up looking like nebulas and galaxies. So she had a series like that apparently Michael was a big fan of, and she said, I want to continue the series with this, with this cover. And I think it's a great fucking cover. It's one of my favorite covers.
It's red.
Yeah, and I love that I was so confused of what it was for so long that it's just a thing you can just stare at for a long time. No other cover of theirs looks like that, even a little bit. Tom notes, he says, when I went to see Swans in Leipzig on the first day of their current tour, I picked up Michael Gira's collection of lyrics and journal entries called The Knot. I thought it would be interesting to include some extracts. I also found this comment in the introduction revealing. So this is from The Knot. Gira says, there are a great many journal entries in this book. For the most part, they are emphatically fiction. They're from an ongoing journal, not a diary. That's gay.
I'm a man. Yeah.
Boys don't have diaries.
No, we have journals.
We have journals. My journals are where I often allow a disembodied fictional first-person narrator to take over and unspool imagined events, diatribes, impossible scenarios, psychic auto-cannibalism, and corrosive or ecstatic dreams, etc. Again, these are fiction. In acknowledgement of the constricting and microscopically judgmental and censorious times we live in, the usual authorial caveats apply here. Certainly, there are many purely anecdotal journal entries included in this book as well. And my presumption is that an intelligent reader would be able to differentiate one from the other. The confidence that he has in people being cool.
I don't know what he's alluding to. I haven't read the books.
Well, we have some quotes. Nothing is like I murdered a guy in Wisconsin kind of thing, but probably felt it was necessary to put something like that when you're divulging such dark, deep thoughts over the course of 40 years. Dark man, intense man, but very interesting.
Started off intense.
Started off very intense.
As a child.
God.
That we documented in episode 1 if you're interested in this.
It's a wild ride. Go check that out. Absolutely. But yeah, finally we're done with the first of the albums. This is my personal favorite, one of my favorite albums of all time. Like I said, I think the greatest reunion album ever made. It's really an easy entry point. If you don't like this, I can't imagine how you would like anything else they do. But even though they do have moments like, fucking White Life in the Mouth of Infinity, where it's like, oh, that's pretty accessible. But even that has a lot of like pounding. And I mean, this is like a nice blending of everything they kind of did in a nice, digestible 40-minute format.
This is a good Baby's First Swans album.
100%.
Yeah.
But now we are ready for the follow-up. And we're already jumping off the deep end. This is the beginning of the gigantic albums. You ready?
I'm ready.
Hell yes. This is 2012's The Seer.
Also, I didn't realize the vinyl was different from the CD/streaming.
They all have to be, yeah, because they're so long.
So I listened to both, but I will be talking about the streaming.
Okay, yeah.
I do like the vinyl order better.
Oh, it's a different order? Already such a great intro. It's so much clearer and fuller already. these sounds, I don't know where they get these sounds or what it is exactly, but it's so Swans. There's these like sirens almost.
It's like we don't have the electronics. We're doing it all through a number of
Yep, percussion, fucking dulcimers and all that. I very vividly remember when this came out because I was on board. I was like excited, waiting. I was like,
Yeah.
here it is, here it is. I listened to this album 1,000 times. It's all build up. There's just so much build up.
It's very like cinematic.
Yeah.
I don't know how much we're gonna or what we're gonna listen to, but I do like these different vocals.
Oh yeah.
Because it's not like a choir. It's just like, oh, this is different people singing the same thing.
Yeah. I believe Jarbo's even in there.
Yes.
You know, she might not be in this song, but she is on this album. Yeah, she's not on this song, but. Fucking whimsical little elements.
Oh man, yeah.
God, it's so good.
You're not ready for like a whimsical synth type instrument to come in here. I don't even think it's a synth, but
Yeah, it's like a melodica or something. We listened to a lot of that. And of course, we have to put on 5 minutes in order to get anywhere in the song.
I know that was like the quickest 4 minutes ever.
Jesus.
I really thought that was like 2 minutes right now. I have no sense of time right now.
Because that's what happens with a lot of their intros and a lot of these long sections where and it's why they lost a lot of members in the past because the musicians just couldn't grasp the concept of we're not playing it a set number of times. We're playing it until it feels right to move on.
Yeah.
So these versions are not final. This is just the recorded version. Live, they can go on way longer.
Sure.
Like just whenever just based on the energies in the room, that's when we move on to the next section. Best.
Oh, wow.
I've heard this album possibly more than any other album in this episode.
Yeah.
And I've always loved it. Since the day it came out, I knew it was a very special album. Going back to it, I can't believe how unbelievable these songs are. Like in terms of a 2-hour album, I think this is the best paced 2-hour album I've ever heard. Everything does so much. Everything, like that whole song, Lunacy, that entire like 6 to 8 minute song. I forget how long it is. Very long. I'll find out in like 2 seconds.
That's not even, well, for Swans, it's short.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
This 6 minute song is basically an intro to the album. It feels like it doesn't really feel like its own song. It feels like it's setting up the whole album. And then you get Mother of the fucking World. Mother of the World is one of the most, oh my God, I get so many chills just thinking about how it comes in, how frantic it is immediately. It just jumps right the fuck in. It's so repetitive. I mean, everything they do is repetitive.
Yeah, you had something, even though it's called Lunacy, you had something kind of nice with Lunacy.
Yeah, dark but nice.
And then Mother of the World is just gonna
Fucking pure, bitter, twisted insanity, and it goes on until you start feeling like you're losing your mind. And the vocal performances are really, really strange and bizarre, borderline disturbing. He's like going against any kind of melody, just screaming randomly. Really interesting texture he's using for his voice. And then like 5.5 minutes, it slows down and quiets itself a little bit, and then it gets really emotional and moving with these incredible arrangements. Gira sounds fucking amazing there. It's a 10-minute song that's not long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goddamn.
And then speaking of things that aren't long enough, the Wolf is it's not even 2 minutes.
A minute and a half.
Yeah. There's kind of has like this like chanting quality to it. It's really neat.
It's acoustic and vocal kind of solo transition piece, but it's like oddly hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
Michael's singing right up on the mic, and it's very intimate.
That is like a reoccurring theme in this era, where you get these moments of what feel like optimism and hope, and then you just like drag back into the swamp.
Even in that song, it's only a minute and a half, but like in the second half of The Wolf, it's the same thing, but they just throw in fucking white noise in the second half of it. And suddenly it goes from this really intimate, almost Western, kind of nice little transition piece. It gets weird and creepy again, because like this white noise and behind everything, it just, everything is always just a hair off, like something just one little bit off and makes it into creepy again. And then the first of many songs over a half hour.
We've covered
the title
punk
track
albums that are shorter than this song.
So many too. So many. The title track. So it's 32 minutes, and there is a lot to unpack for some of these long songs.
Yes, I can do like a quick summary, or well, not a quick summary,
right?
Like, yeah, it's like this opening soundscape, the white noise, the drone, so to speak. Eventually, you're introduced to this like interesting, like busy cymbal work, the percussions,
dude. So like that intro goes on for like 4 minutes, maybe a little bit under 4 minutes. Just this big fucking Midsummer sounding, like someone is being murdered in front of me kind of sound.
Yeah.
And then when the percussion comes in, it has this really cool production to it, where it feels distant, it feels cold, it feels like it's in a tunnel, and it has this really menacing and foreboding kick drum. That it's fucking terrifying. And then the guitars and bass ease their way in really, really subtly, and with just the meanest fucking riff, like so bitter and mean and angry, and it just fucking rips.
I think before it gets angry, maybe it's a long song. I tried my best to do this. There's like this like plucking thing.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Because it feels so sinister. Like it's quiet. It's not like huge and big, but it slowly bleeds in there.
Very similar to the last album, when we talked about like, yeah, it's just a piano and like tom drums.
Yeah.
There's not really like distortion or
you don't need it,
anything ugly, but it's able to convoke this like heaviness.
As it goes on, the first big section, where the vocals are repeating, I see it all, with this distorted droning in the background. Horror level. It's straight horror level. It's so good.
Dude, that was crazy, because it made me think of like Massive Attack, like when Massive Attack goes dark, I'm like, I could see them doing something similar to this section of the song.
Interesting.
Specifically that section, because it is a big song.
I see it all.
It's so fucking, it is cool. Like, I think like a cool like dark DJ could like take that and do something,
loop that. Yeah,
something neat with it.
Around 11 minutes 40, things explode, and it feels fucking amazing.
I also have that time.
Yep. An extremely lengthy pounding section follows, and then a lot of ambience follows that.
Yeah, I use deranged after.
Dude, so we're jumping through a lot of these sections, but like there's huge moments of just endless pounding, and then huge moments of creepy ambience, mood setting, where it's just slowly morphing into the next section, which is, there's basically 3 or 4 big sections in this one song, but they all it's the transitions that really make the song. The final section comes in at around 27:50 and incredible. It's one of the best riffs they've ever done. Almost Eastern sounding.
Yeah. And there were like Middle Eastern sounding riffs before this. So it's not like completely jarring.
The only thing that separates this one is that it's way less evil and dark and way more like kind of cool and dark, way more like you kind of want to bob your head to it. It's way more like groovy and interesting. Also, Michael sounds just like Damo Suzuki on that last section.
I wrote that for other songs.
That's fascinating. Check out the Can episode. I mean, there should be a second part coming soon. But
there's this like genres of music that I was not expecting him to tap into. Like I would love to if I had a time machine, I'm not doing anything noble. I'm just going to the 80s to tell a Swans fan that eventually they will dabble in psychedelia.
Oh yeah. Yes, absolutely. They
not
will.
So much on this album.
Not here exactly, but they will. One thing interesting about this song that will apply to later songs. Apparently, this song, the title track, was born out of the intro, the intro of their live version of I Crawled. I believe it's I Crawled.
Oh, that's
so like them playing old songs live and just doing what they
bridge into the future.
Exactly. They just do what they do. Michael does what he does. He conducts them, and the songs just take a new life, and it just becomes a 32-minute song that's completely different. I can't even recognize the I Crawled in this so much. At least I believe it's I Crawled. I hope I'm not misremembering. But if it's not I Crawled, it's one of the, Raping a Slave, Young God era, songs. That
sort of thing.
Yeah. And on this tour, I saw them play Coward, and it made me cry. It was the first show to ever make me cry, and I couldn't believe I was seeing it. Very visceral and powerful and painful. So that's like... you'd think that'd be the end of side 1, but it's fucking not. Side 1 has a lot more left. Disc 1, whatever. Yeah. Following that, we got the Seer Returns, which has Jarbo's vocals on it. I could very much hear them in the background too.
I love this song so much.
Especially so fucking good.
Yeah, especially after, a big epic song. This is like kind of funky.
Yeah.
And there's creepy vocals, of course. It's kind of like Nick Cave and the Volta had a baby.
Interesting. Because that's one of the songs where I think Swansy as fuck.
Yeah.
When I think of, I not just because Jarbo's on there, but just that style of rhythm, the extreme repetition, the almost industrial nature to it. And then the grooviness. I just think of like the 90s era.
Yeah. I think because Gira's vocals are different, where like this era I thought of, guys like Lou Reed and Nick Cave.
Following that, we got 93rd Avenue Blues, and that is not much a song as it is pure horror cacophony with disturbing droning vocals.
It is the screechiest horns.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And if you thought that was the most offensive part of the song, then it just goes into like brutal, unrelenting noise to close it out.
It is the least song on here.
The least song.
Yeah. And if there was anything I could like point out, like, all right, this is not the best because of this, it would be that track. But this is the thing about an album like this, where it's this long and it's this intense, you have to submit from the beginning. If you go in with any, and it's, I feel this way about a lot of lengthy albums. I felt this way the first time I heard Lift Your Skinny Fists Up to Heaven, or, from Godspeed. where if you're not fully committed from the onset, you're not going to get anything out of it. You have to put yourself in this world.
Yeah, you can't. These aren't albums to have on in the background unless you're familiar with them.
Yeah.
Like you need to like just sit and listen and not do anything else.
Yeah. Even like in darkness would be actually a very good way.
Preferable.
Yeah. But so when you're in the world of the Seer, that 93rd Avenue Blues is just a part of it's just the scary part of the journey. It's not really like, I don't dislike it at all. I actually quite like it, but I'm not going to put it on by itself ever.
Yeah.
That would be psychopathy. But the final track on disc 1 is A Daughter Brings the Water. Another brief one, 2 minutes, 40 seconds.
I will say, even when they're doing shorter songs, they still manage to add a good amount of like nice layers to it.
It's not filler. None of these feel like filler in any way, shape, or form. Daughter Brings the Water is very gentle. It's morbid, but it's morbid with beauty sprinkled in. And I think it's a really good pacer track. Like, I mean, like when I say this is like the best paced 2-hour album, I really, because you're following horror with this, like, it's not super happy. It's just enough levity to kind of like pull you out of the darkness. Like, just, all right, come back. Just bring you back a little bit before moving on. And where do we move on to, Alex?
I hadn't listened to this album in a while. Song for Warrior. I was like, there's no way that's Carano.
It sure is. It pulls you out of Daughter Brings the Water, pulls you out of the darkness, and Song for a Warrior brings you into the light.
Yes.
Beautiful. It's full on gorgeous and happy. Well, not happy, but like
it's very like beautiful and dreamy. It works in some of the southern twangy guitars.
Yep.
I thought it was just going to be like all Carano, but like Michael jumps in for a little bit
at the end. Very, very strong outro section.
It's a good way to start disc 2.
Definitely. And I actually never even realized it was Carano until like now or until
I don't know, because I've like been a Yeah Yeahs fan longer than I've been a Swans fan probably. So
and I've never been a Yeah Yeahs fan, so I didn't even know it was her when I first heard the album a million times. But she sounds great on there. Very fitting. The entire thing is very fitting. It has that twanginess to it, and it's not like happy. It's just more hopeful and beautiful. So it's not like we're pulling you out of this crazy evil darkness shit, and now we're happy. It's just now we're showing you a little bit more of the sunshine and just relax a little bit.
I think she like doesn't get enough credit for her range, and I think I read like something briefly like that's why she was on here. Like he didn't realize she could like do that, and he's like, oh wait, that'd be like really cool. So
he finds a thing in a person, and then he waters it basically until it turns into this thing that he can, fit into whatever he's doing. That's why he's so meticulous when he picks the people for the guest people for these albums. And like on the surface, I think it's easy to dismiss any kind of guest appearances on albums. But now after like reading so much about it, like, oh, he really thought about each person a lot. And even with the studio people, like the people playing the trombone and some of the other horns, the things that he made them do, like on the album, like or even during the tracking session, they're just doing one note, but they're doing one note for several minutes straight. And a thing like a trombone, that's hard to do. Exhausting. Like where they were forced to take breaks, they had to like, it wasn't Michael's idea for them to take breaks. They had to like, look, we need breaks because we need blood back in our lips. Like we need breaks. But one guy, he might've been the trombone player. He's saying, yeah, all you guys go in was this, you hit this, hold on this one note for extremely long time. And then it was an easy note. It's like a, entry level beginner trombone. It's like a simple note, but the repetition, we couldn't do it. Like we were struggling. And he was saying that him and the other home player were like laughing, like we're these professionals and we can't even do this basic thing because of how much Michael's demanding. Like that's how, and he pushes you that far. And then the notes are starting to come out like rough and shitty and kind of messed up. And he's like, perfect. It's exactly perfect. It's just this quality. You can't get some virtuoso and have them do it, and then it'll be what it is.
Mhm.
It's like it's a certain unknown quality. Like if you're gonna, it's almost like an anime, like the inner fucking strength thing that you have to have some crazy old magician pull out of you. It's just
Some old man who wears a turtle shell on his back.
yeah, to tap into this inner strength. And again, it's nothing that you could like practice for unless you literally just hung around for several years playing one note for a long time. It's just a certain thing. Like you have to push it so hard that what you're recognizing as playing music isn't even the same thing anymore. Like you're in this other ethereal, spacey state where, almost like you're on drugs in a weird way, like where you completely lose everything and you're just doing this thing and it becomes something else.
I don't want to list some like pseudoscience bullshit, but I think there are things where they've done studies where it's like doing repetition and chanting.
Yep.
And people who pray do reach those like same levels
The
that
Zen
people
flow states and Zen stuff.
that people on drugs
Yeah.
get.
And it's not easy to get there.
No.
Drugs are a lot faster. I'll
Yeah,
tell you
they
that,
are.
but it is very real, and it's especially if you see them live, and if you've seen them live and you've really got absorbed into it, like they play louder than most bands in the world, and that's led to a lot of hearing problems and busted equipment. But without ear protection, these volumes reach a certain frequency where it just fucking. It flicks a switch and it transports you somewhere. It really changes like your brain chemistry for the time being. It's actual magic.
I will say it's more primal and caveman like, but yeah, I would argue that like sun and sleep also do similar things.
Just becoming absorbed and mesmerized in it and just completely losing yourself. It's not easy to do, but that's why he resurrected Swans, like to completely lose yourself in this performance. It's fucking gorgeous.
You know who else likes to lose himself? Eminem.
He sure does.
Avatar is one of my favorite songs.
Build kind of based around these really prominent church bells. Fucking very cool.
I will say it's very cool, like in knowing that the bells are like part of the live performance.
They are. I was out of that because I've only seen them the one time. Avatar is sticks in my head the most. Aside from when they played Coward, Avatar is the one that really sticks with me that they played because they're like, oh, this is perfect. Like they did it perfectly. Like.
I can't tell you what songs I saw. I can just tell you it was an experience.
That's actually one of the things that all the band members apparently have in common.
Yeah.
When after every show that they do, there is nothing in their head anymore. It's like when you go to a show, sometimes you'll have one song stuck in your head or like something will stick with you. They play the music out of their head. They play it so much that like literally it's completely blank, which is very interesting. The entire experience is just gone almost.
Avatar, I love the build and then the last 50 seconds.
When the snare rolls come in.
Like the last 50 seconds is I've never said this about a song and I don't know if I will, but like it's like coming. Like the release is that good. The release is that good. It is. It fucking is.
That's amazing. God damn it. It's a great song. I'll give you that.
You know, unless we're doing like Tim Buckley or Two Live Crew. I don't like to go there too much, but
don't want to get vulgar with art.
Well, Swans whatever. You won't really hear me say that about another song.
High praise, dude. Yeah. High praise. Fuck yeah. Piece of the Sky is another difficult one. It's 19 minutes.
I think that's some of my like favorite ambient white noise stuff on the album, dude. Is in A Piece of the Sky.
So it's a song of another song of two halves. Like the first 9 minutes is this ambient stuff, and it is horror choirs. They really do fit in with some of the most disturbing imagery you could imagine. Both Jarboe and Akron Family are on that song.
I felt like someone was going to get sacrificed in my living room listening to it.
It's exactly how it feels. And 9 minutes is a long time to feel that way. I will relent at least that much. That's a big chunk to have that much intensity. But then the final 10 minutes or so, around 10 minutes, is one of the most incredible things on the album. It's the full band comes back in, it becomes a song again. It's
very jarring
it is.
Yeah.
It might as well be a separate track for the way it comes in. But it's a riff that travels. It's a riff that seems to never end. It just keeps going and going, but it's beautiful and it's moving and it's very not majestic. It's more like it feels like a battle. The actual riff feels like a battle that kind of keeps moving. It feels like you're going into war. That's how kind of dramatic it is. And it has this very easy to grab onto heavy 4/4 beat to it. It's like it's nothing inaccessible about it. It's just intense and powerful. And I found that whole section to be spectacular and worth the trudging through horror to get to it, because you do have to sit through some shit to get to it.
It also made me like question, like, is that a dulcimer? Is that a mandolin?
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm gonna give up and just call everything gondola.
The various gondola guitars.
There's so many.
Yeah, they all sound great. I'm sure it's both mandolins and dulcimer. Well, I think dulcimer is more prominent because Phil plays that, and I think only Grasshopper plays mandolin on this album.
Okay,
I think the closer is Apostate, which is of course 23 minutes, and it is, I think, the best closer / closing section in this entire era.
I kind of like it more as the second track.
Oh, it's a second track on the LP.
Yeah, because it's just like, I don't know, the like theme of lunacy, and then here's like a 20-minute song.
Dude, it does go into this song does have some pretty batshit moments with a lot of energy too. Like
for sure.
The full final song section, which comes around 13:20. Really fast, really percussive and rhythmic, and I even love the vocals. Michael's doing this twangy, high kind of whiny thing, where he's just kind of he's shouting, but with the high twang to it, and it sounds very interesting because his voice is naturally so deep, and it goes on for a good while. Really great, fucking killer section, but the way it revs down, I think, is masterful. It takes. It's so patient how it revs down. It kind of goes on for a long time, just slowly lowering and lowering and lowering. And then an onslaught of fucking toms comes in, just pure chaos.
They do the thing live bands do where it's just like, or the Melvins do at the beginning of the song.
Of course.
They do it in the middle of a song.
The thing is, no, it ends with that fucking, actually, Liturgy does it in the middle of the song.
Oh, yeah.
They fucking do it in the middle of the song. But the onslaught of toms, it's pure toms. But it's how the song ends. It's just this giant wall of crazy toms, and then boom, and it stops. And it's like no other song in this entire era, maybe except for Little Mouth on the last album. None of them end with that much finality and that much like, fuck, I just went through hell and I made it.
Yeah.
Like this one really feels like you made it through this journey of an album.
I love that these songs are like so massive that like you could walk away with something different than I did, because this made me think a lot of Demo Suzuki.
Oh, this one.
And Can.
I get it. Yeah.
Like there are like krautrock elements to it. It does also get groovy. I don't know if there's congos.
There is so many instruments on here. It's like it's almost futile to try and list them all.
And yeah, you get like noisy saxophones too.
Dude, the horns and woodwinds. I think there's clarinet on here too that I believe Thor might play. I forget. Yeah, there's just so many things, and a lot of what I've heard people or read people say about the recording process is like Michael's just this dude who's trying to relay all this really abstract information, and then he'll be like, it needs this instrument, and he'll just throw out some random instrument. But then you hear how it all comes together. It's like kind of like how the Phil Spector wall of noise thing, where it's like, yeah, you have a million instruments playing the same thing, but it creates a whole new sound from all those layers. It's in a way like that, except these are all live. It all feels very acoustic and live.
So unless you know how to play the fucking theremin, get the fuck out.
He's got a point. That was basically Michael Gira. Dude, man, we're so much time spending on these albums, but that's just the way it is when the album is 2 fucking hours long.
I wanted to talk about it at the beginning, but we just got carried away. The album artwork is like this like little wolf thing, and I guess it's Michael's teeth.
Yeah, it's his teeth.
So
strange cover, man.
So if that's his teeth on the back, well, at least in the vinyl, I don't know about the CD. The dog's butthole is there.
I hope it's his butthole.
I hope it's his.
That'd be good stuff.
Teeth and butthole.
So this is like this album is the first of like the trilogy, quote unquote. With the next 2 albums being the other 2 entries, and there's like a common theme in packaging and like the cover art has similar, just a style to it. He tends to do that. He did that with like Love of Life and White Light.
Mm-hmm.
He did that with the early, Filth and Cop and stuff, where it has, very similar aesthetics per album. It's kind of like an era thing. It's almost like the signifying of an era is when they all start to look similar. But this album art is so strange, and it's beautifully done. I think it's an incredible painting.
I feel like it kind of encapsulates some of the vibes here, where you're like, that thing could be cute, but it probably has rabies.
Yeah, even though those teeth are very human.
Yeah,
it's just a strange concept. Like, why? What made you think of a dog with human teeth?
It's a great album cover.
It is, and some of the albums later are just as bizarre, but like this one's pretty unique, and I think this
one's my favorite.
Oh yeah,
from this yeah.
My Father is still my favorite.
Yeah,
just because of the abstract nature of it. But this one, I think this also, if you're just looking at the cover, I don't think many people can appreciate how difficult it is to paint something like that.
Oh, the like lighting and the darkness.
It's so dark, and the way the fur looks that real, and it's really hard to do dark paintings. And it's like, yeah, it's a really, and especially with something that just, it's pulled out of a dream. It looks like it's pulled out of a dream. It's very strange.
It's kind of it's a dog with human teeth. It's nightmare fuel,
but still kind of cute. Very strange.
Because it's not a normal wolf. It's a certain kind of like adorable looking wolf.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks almost like those little teapot dogs. Almost
a little bit. Yeah.
So this album, like the one before it and all the ones after it was part funded by sales of a limited edition album. This time a live double album. We Rose from Your Bed with the Sun in Our Head, which was limited to 1,000 copies. I remember that. That's a great cover of that one.
Oh yeah. Also kind of dark and.
Yep. Dark and very, very, I don't know, just unsettling in many ways. Bill Riflin also guests on this one. He's credited as an honorary Swan. He plays a bunch of shit on here. Who else do we have on here? We have Alan Sparhawk and Minnie Parker, who both co-founded Low. And Minnie Parker died last year. They're the ones singing on Lunacy.
Okay.
Jarbo is on here, of course. Tom notes, he says, from what I remember of a recent interview, she was sent tracks to record her parts to, which she did and then sent back. She didn't sing with the band, although she did subsequently guest with Swans on stage, possibly just the one show, but I don't remember. That was brought up in the documentary. Where does the body end, I believe?
Yeah.
Where she played one show with them, and that was kind of like a big, nice closure thing for them. I didn't realize that she wasn't in the studio for these songs though. Grasshopper, of course, Mercury Rev. He plays apparently fire sounds on A Piece of the Sky.
Okay.
Very cool. Very cool. And then, we got bagpipes, horns, steel cello, accordion, violin, all stuff that you can't really pick out.
Or maybe you can if you know it's there, but not.
Yeah.
not just like, oh, hey, is that
Yeah, exactly. It's more of like in a sea of all these instruments. Jane Scarpantoni, who's a classically trained cello player who's apparently credits include fucking Beastie Boys. Check out that episode. Sheryl Crow, Helmet, Bob Mould. Check out Who's Gonna Do. Lou Reed, Throwing Muses, and Ween on cello. I mean, I can't think of a more eclectic selection of bands.
I guess we have to do a Sheryl Crow episode now.
Sheryl Crow and Helmet?
I mean, Helmet, I feel like that's a given. It'll probably happen, but...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but...
Sheryl Crow. Fuck it, man. Why not? So Simon Henwood did the album art, and they've also done art for Barry Adamson, Roshan Murphy, Rihanna, Alicia Keys.
I wasn't expecting those last two names.
Nor was I. That's some interesting overlap.
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, no shit. But yeah, so this is a well-regarded album. It is a very incredible album. I think it's their best. I mean, holy shit. If you're willing to take the plunge into Swans, you have to come here. You have to.
It's this very weird, like, I love it, but it's very weird doing this podcast and then like, yeah, I want to give it an accolade, but like there's so much.
That's the thing. Like, I love every album that we're going to be talking about, or that we have already talked about. Obviously, I've already given up my two best things, but I love every album here. My worst is just worse because, it's the game we play here. There is so much to pull from each of these albums. You really can go any kind of way.
Yeah.
But I think it is time to finally move on.
It is time.
Boy, oh boy. So here we go. It's just so exhausting. We've been at this for so long. Here we go, everybody. 2014's To Be Kind.
It's such an unexpected riff for this band.
I didn't find it to be unexpected, but I do think it is one of the best openers in their entire discography. Oh, I love that bass drum sound so much. Oh my God. Oh, I love the drum sound in general. It's so haunting.
Yeah, I remember hearing this for the first time and I was like, I love so
You're not going to be turned off by any song lengths here either.
no, not that like has a market on this type of sound,
Right.
But this is like my home base.
Mm-hmm. Heavy bass, heavy drums.
Middle Eastern sounding stuff. Also, as a drummer, I always like hated the little like mesh part.
Oh, you mean the actual snare? The snare?
Yeah. And this like I don't like the way it sounds, so I would never like be in the studio like, oh, let me turn that off.
But you can get some very cool sounds without it.
Yes, which is why I don't play it. And yeah, it's like he's turning into like Lou Reed and like Iggy Pop, but it's still him.
Still him. He gets very experimental with vocals on this album. More so than before.
Push, reach, inside, feed, breathe, touch, come.
So the beauty and genius of Swans is how they develop on one idea. Mm-hmm. So this bass line is basically doing the same thing the entire song, but as things grow, as other layers pop in, it just becomes something else by the end of it.
I was like, Can you put this on in a yoga class? At the end, you cannot.
You definitely cannot.
It's dangerously close to being able to, though.
Yeah, for a while. This one might be a little on the fast side for yoga, but a couple of these other songs fit right in.
I don't know. I think if you're doing like if you're a yoga nerd and you're doing like a power yoga.
Fear, no hate, no time.
Okay, so it grows and develops.
Over the course of 8 minutes.
Best personal favorite.
I knew it. I had a feeling. This is one hell of an album. That is for sure.
It did make me like question some things because on the Volta episode, I love Francis the Mute and I love like the soundscapes and the dicking around. So I almost went Seer, but I'm just like very much the way you feel about Seer. I'm just like start to finish, not an ounce of wasted space here.
So parts, I think the highs here are fucking so hard to top in the entire discography. The highs here are fucking so the first 3 songs alone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. So we've heard a whole chunk of screenshot there. And then following that is Just a Little Boy, which, dude, I mean, super slow, super heavy, fucking almost blues.
It's more subdued and a little bit more dreamy.
But still so heavy.
Oh, no. This is still Swans, and he has to remind you it's a nightmare. And like when they start saying, "Oh, I'm just a little boy," and there's like laughter. I'm like, it's a fucking nightmare.
It is
a nightmare,
dude. Some of Gira's vocalizing here, it sounds like an old Chinese man.
Yeah,
like some of the stuff he's doing is just it's completely unhinged. But that bass is the deepest, lowest, heaviest bass I think I can kind of think of in any Swans album, where it's almost like you could feel your spirit rumbling every time it hits. It's extremely moody, and the atmosphere in it is just so dark, but it's not like depressing dark. It's just there's just a lot of space in it. You feel like you're in a cavern listening to this.
Yes.
Around 9:50, it goes through the first loud distorted change. I mean, the song is 12 and a half minutes and takes almost like 10 minutes to go through the first change. So that's what we're dealing with.
Sometimes the final 2 minutes, it's like, that's it.
Yep. It flies by. It's got such a different character than the opener. It's the same band because the intensity, but it's a different thing entirely. It's beautiful. It's a perfect second track. And then you get yet another perfect follow-up, which is A Little God in My Hands. Again, it's Swans, but it's just a different face of it.
It's like trash funk music.
4/4 driving, catchy as shit. It's really hard not to move to that song. It's like I don't know, anybody who enjoys, rock instruments and wouldn't find that to be very addictive, that song. At least the first, chunk of it.
It's also like interesting because it doesn't even take that long to do something unexpected. We're about like 2 minutes in. I don't know what string guitar like instrument it is.
That string, that guitar layer, right?
It's such a brilliant choice. Like it feels so good when that comes in.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, it's just one musical idea. And the layers shape it and contort it and turn it into something just absolutely unbelievable. That little guitar line fucking opens everything up.
It does.
It's so good. I can't believe how good it is. And then the vocals are very odd, very distinct. So far, on the first 3 songs alone, he's doing very different vocal approaches. On that track, it's very bendy. He tends to do a lot of stuff like that where he'll kind of... very siren-like, very bendy, a lot of wails, very nasally too. A lot of nasally stuff. It very unusual stuff. Like you hear these bass lines and these bass layers, and you're like, what kind of vocals could go on that? And he does something way off that you're never gonna call. And then much like track 4 of the Seer, we have Bring the Sun / Toussaint Louverture. It's in French, whatever. 34 minutes.
First of all, it's a 30. That song comes out the gate hard.
Opens with intense and extremely repetitive pounding. I mean, it comes out swinging.
But eventually we get some like gentle sitars and
settles in
flanger affected vocals.
His wailing into the ether, it really feels great. Kind of settles on that after a while.
If you like a Black Sabbath Planet Caravan, kind of in the same vein.
Not quite as nice and pretty as that.
No.
But still in the same kind of,
Or like Led Zeppelin's No Quarter, kind of like
there is one song later on where it's like, oh, that's just No Quarter. I'm just tired. There's definitely a lot of that kind of building of the scene, so to speak. It slowly builds things back up, but it really obviously takes its time.
It takes like 8 minutes to get back.
Yeah, it's like. If like again, like I said with the last one, if you're on board with it, it kind of changes the perspective of it. But if let's just say you're on board and you're into this and you decided to take the plunge, when you're on that 8 minute little moment where it's kind of building back up, it feels like you're on a ride with them. It definitely feels like you're taking a tour of something, because you have to submit, you have to relent, you have to just go with whatever energy and whatever pace that they want to go. And because of that, sure, the song is 34 minutes, but nothing ever feels rushed. Nothing ever feels like it comes in like awkwardly or clumsily.
Or repetitive. Even if it is repetitive, it never feels like
it's extremely repetitious, but it doesn't feel like it's like, okay, dude, I get it. Move on.
I've been here. Yeah, I've been here before. It never feels like that.
And that's all stemming from the same thing of we'll move on when it feels right.
I will say his range of vocals on this song is like you get everything. You get like the hypnotic chanting stuff. You get screaming. His
screaming here is pretty bad. It's pretty bad shit.
Yeah, I do want to note around 16 minutes in, I thought we were going on a nice little like acid trip through the desert.
Yeah.
And then that is very rudely interrupted by what sounds like a handsaw.
And we also get the horses whinnying and galloping.
Yeah, like much like just a little boy. Whenever you think you're in a dream, he needs to remind you that this is a nightmare.
Yeah, don't worry. It's a bad dream.
Yes.
I think with the horses, he had what he wanted was the sound of horses kind of galloping and winning, going into battle. That kind of that roar.
Mm-hmm.
So they were going to bring horses in the studio to do that. And then they learned that the only way to get that sound out of a horse is to legitimately piss it off. And you don't want to do that in a studio with a bunch of equipment.
I think you should.
Maybe if you get the fucking budget to cover. But so because that they decided to go out to, farm or whatever the fuck and take, field mics with them. And I think one of the handlers almost got kicked in the head by one of the horses during that, which, all right. Well, he didn't though. It's okay. He's alive. But yeah, that's the dedication, I suppose. But so that song, I mean, a lot of sections, but I think around 2050 is when like the big distinguishable Gira losing his fucking mind screaming.
Also, it's like there's like whistles and not like whistling out of your like those referee whistles. Yeah.
It's experimental and it's intense and it's a lot, but it is very it's psychedelic in a way that's not the genre psychedelic.
No, yeah.
It's like a spiritual experience. Gira screaming, I mean, it sounds otherworldly because he doesn't really sound like that. He has apparently a wide range of screams. Mm-hmm. And this one, he sounds like an evil wizard. It's really strange.
Towards the end, he really likes rolling his R's in this song.
Well, yeah, I think it's because he's speaking, he's saying the thing in French, which isn't a rolling R, but I don't know. Maybe
they get rolled.
They get rolled. They motherfucking get rolled. Yeah, it's an intense and very taxing song. But my only problem with it is that it didn't give me any of the same hair-raising moments the way the Seer did, the way that title track did. Like every time it would go to a new section, it'd be this like, oh, that's such a great riff, and it would just develop on that for another 5-10 minutes. I just didn't like this the what they call them. They call them like music islands.
Mm-hmm.
They call it when they refer to these big songs. They're like big balls of sound separated by islands of music, which is I think is a nice way to put it. So the islands of music on this track didn't strike me as much as on the last album.
It was this like an apples and oranges thing,
Pretty
to
much.
me, where there's this they're different islands.
Different islands. Yep. Following that, we have Some Things We Do, which is the first track I didn't love on all these albums. Going in order, because it's more arty than musical. It's more like it feels more like a mood piece than anything, but a mood piece that lasts 5 minutes.
I really like it.
Explain to me.
It's unsettling and evil. And I just kind of like needed that after the like psychedelic journey. Not that doesn't have unsettling things in it, but again, it's a different type of palate cleanser, not your traditional nice one like on previous albums. But
it's funny how you took unsettling and disturbing from that track, which I didn't. I took more. It's because like the textures behind the vocals are pretty pretty and kind of gorgeous. So I think I didn't register it as creepy or anything. So I ended up just turning that into bored.
Oh, okay.
Because if it doesn't strike a certain emotion, then I have to put it somewhere, or if I have to, or my brain puts it somewhere. But it is an interesting song because it's just Michael along with Julia Kent, Little Annie, who is like she's an artist, but she's like all kinds of shit. She's a painter, singer, poet, performing artist. I think she came in this album in the beginning. I don't think she was with him any earlier than this, but yeah, they're doing they're just speaking things that people do in synchronization.
Did she come during Avatar? Because that's when
that's when Alex came. All right, that's we'll have to ask her. But yeah, it's definitely more artsy and moody than his song like. But following that, because that's the end of side one or disc one.
This is also different. I thought I had this on vinyl. I do not. I'm going to course correct that in the near future.
Of course.
I always do.
Always do, baby. We got disc 2, She Loves Us. And holy shit, coming in hot with a fantastic dirty bass line.
Yes. And also it's like a mixture of old and new where I'm like, this is noisy, but it's also hypnotic.
Yes.
So you get the like punishing noise. You get some of the noise of old Swans, but then it's like, oh, we're doing this like hypnotic thing on this album, so it fits in. Also,
in that first section, it's kicks all this ass and it's really fucking brutal and heavy, but it has these really high pitched floaty vocals over it.
Oh, it sounds like they're going meow.
It's a cool texture because it's like you would expect more screaming or more pain, but it has this very, I don't want to say spiritual quality to it, but in a way, and then it crumbles into this atmospheric pounding where it's just pure fucking chaos. It doesn't feel that controlled. It feels like madness. And then it goes into like a more groovy section. Really catchy.
Going into that grooving, I like the false sense of security the wing chimes give you, and then it's just like, oh no, here's some feedback.
It's like I felt like it was a really brutal, sinister krautrock, that whole section. Very cool. And then at the end, you get this disturbing choir of male voices just vocalizing, not really singing a melody, just making noises. And then this pounding fucking outro comes in, rules.
I like a lot of songs kind of evolve and change and you end up in a different place, where this I felt was like being in a building and like slowly watching it get bombed, because like towards the end, I'm like, there are remnants.
Right.
I'm sure other songs, but this one particularly, like, I'm like, there are remnants of where we started here.
It's just goes through a lot over the course of 17 minutes. That song is 17 minutes, by the way.
That's easy after 30 minutes.
Man, even that, like, even this song, I was like, fuck, man, this is a lot. I do like the parts that hit, I fucking love. But some of the space in between, it does take a lot out of you. Next one, and this is my problem with this album, I think as a whole, because like the highs are fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
But some of the pacing does feel a little wonky because Christian Supine is, first of all, amazing, but it's the first moment of beauty on the album. Whereas this is pretty late in the album. This is over an hour into the album.
I guess there is something beautiful about it, but also I'm just like, feels like the soundtrack to someone dying.
In a way, it probably is.
It probably is. Even I was like, I feel that way. And then I was listening to the lyrics where it's like, I will let it go, I can't let go. And I'm like, I bet, you kind of, maybe you're at peace with dying, so you can let it go. And then you're like, no.
Ooh, that's turmoil, man.
I don't know if that was his intentions, but
you get out of it what you get out of it.
That's what I was feeling during that song.
It's such a great fucking song. I mean, the buildup is super evil and very creepy and actually kind of scary. Drums don't come in till like around 5 minutes 20, and it's very drony. But goddamn, it's just so much amazing. Like the female back vocals. Who's singing on this one? Or
it may be the same.
It's St. Vincent.
Oh,
she's on there. She's singing backup on that. Oh, she's as well as she does some backup vocals on Screenshot, as well as Natalie Neal and Bring the Sun, which come on later on. But they really do bring a different layer into it. It's like it's beautiful and gentle, but just the darkness in it. There's so much pain, so much pain, and it's a beautiful song. It's fucking gorgeous. And then we move on to fucking Oxygen, which, good God Almighty, one of the most incredible bass lines. It's
weird, and maybe we've been doing this so long, like. They've done noisy stuff, but I don't know if they've ever done anything where I'm like, oh, it's kind of like math, like spazzy math rock.
Yeah, it's not even, it's in 4/4, but the riff itself sounds mathy. And it's also extremely frantic and one of the most sadistic bass lines I think they've ever heard, and definitely one of the most sadistic that they've ever done.
I think it is kind of a throwback, at least in terms of aggression and anger. I don't know if it's weird because there are aggressive, angry things, but then, like you said, there's that Swans level, and that to me is like tapping into that like,
it is
early era.
It's like vicious. It's like because none of the early stuff was this technical, especially drum wise. The drums on Oxygen are pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, really
good drums, and definitely a lot more layered and more intricate than anything they did early on. But the ferocity of it, like it just feels like serrated. It has that more than any song on the last album or the one before it. Maybe even the entire middle era. Like it's just there's something very, very deadly about Oxygen.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. After that. I also think it's one of their fucking best songs ever. But Natalie Neal, I think, would fit right in on Soundtracks for the Blind.
Yeah. That's the first song where like I really enjoy it. It's great. But I think in this album I got in such like a groove that, or like I got accustomed to this insanity of this current era where it didn't have like the same like shock and awe. But I feel like that's like a very like nitpicky.
I mean, when you were dissecting these massive albums, we find whatever we find. With that one, full band comes in around like 3:45. I think it feels fucking amazing.
I love I love the drumming on that track.
Oh yeah, the outro is also super pretty and soothing in almost like a Pink Floyd kind of way. When I think of the way they did Atmosphere.
Yeah, that's one of the more frustrating ones because I'm like, that outro, I want you to play that for 12 minutes.
That doesn't happen that often where we crave for them to go longer because usually like they really go long.
the riffs in that outro are that good.
Goddamn. The title track, which is the closer. It's also like I was starting to get worn out right before the title track, which is
really,
like, I mean, that's like, but when you listen to a 2-hour album, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It took me, what is it? An hour and 50 minutes essentially to get bored.
I always did disc 1, disc 2 because
dude.
Yeah.
I thought of doing that and I was gonna do that. Every album I listened to straight through, every single one.
Fucking champion.
But I think that's how I listen to Swans albums though. That's like it's how I've always. It's just how I want, like how I enjoy it more. Somehow.
I knew if I did that, I'd go even more mad with rage.
I think I would actually love this album and maybe the next one a lot more if I split them up, because there is, especially this album has so much distinction from each half, because you get like the crazy aggressive stuff on disc 2 compared to the first one.
Yeah.
But but To Be Kind, another gentle one, ends it with a gentle one.
Yes. I think, like you said, disc 2's more aggressive. I think this the perfect ending to a brutal, surreal odyssey that this album is. It's depressing, sad, unsettling, only to lead to moments of harshness. Like that's the whole album right there.
It is. It absolutely is. It even ends this giant eruption. I think it fades out a little too quickly. To something that you kind of want.
Not quite a bitch ass fade.
Not quite. They will have a bitch ass quick fade out in one album or one or two albums. Where I'm like, with an album that's 2 hours, you need time to like settle. At least if it's gonna fade out or it's gonna die, the note's gonna die. That's why I like the Seer, where it has this eruption of toms and it just cuts you off. Like, oh fuck! So you're just kind of like almost like you have whiplash. That's one method, but this one it like eases you down. And then just, all right, we're done. Like, where's my aftercare? Where's my cuddling?
This is Swans. There is no cuddling.
There is no cuddling in Swans.
There's BDSM. There's whips and chains and fluids.
Yep, a lot of fucking gagging and fucking holding back tears.
The best you'll get is like eye-to-eye contact with choking.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, fuck. Goddamn. I'm hard, dude.
It's so funny how like sexually charged the earlier eras were, but this is the one where I'm like, yeah, let's do all the sex.
Yeah, let's feel it.
Yeah.
By the way, this it's complete side note. I know we both have a lot of notes for this episode. We usually have a decent amount of notes for each episode, but this one is my top. It's. I don't think I've ever gone with more notes than this. How many pages you got of notes?
Oh, let me see. Yeah, basically every album is 1 page.
Okay, you take way less notes than I do. It's because I only put I put every thought that happens and then I just kind of sift through it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I try to like.
So for most episodes, I have about a page per album. You know how many pages I have for these 6 albums?
How many?
25.
25. Okay. I don't know how to work Google Docs. Could say I've written 2,024 words.
Dude, I'm gonna find out how many.
You're way higher for sure.
But obviously. I'm still curious though. How do you do the word count?
Double.
40,
over double.
4,800 words.
Yeah.
Well, it's not read all those words, but still, like this, I didn't realize how much I was dissecting each song because like, oh yeah, they're 15, 20, 30, 40 fucking minutes. Each song is an album. And
I was worried like I was like, what if I don't like have enough to say about these like 30-minute, but
there is so much to say. I was actually kind of worrying about the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this album, it's basically a matter of taste. This one is absolutely incredible. I didn't love the choice of pacing as much as the last one, but Alex did.
Going on the Wikipedia, I kind of feel like, there's nothing basic about Swans, but I feel like this is kind of like the basic big choice.
People really, really responded to this album. People fucking love this album. But the thing is, they did with the Seer as well. I think they might have even been the basic bitcher choice of the two.
All it came down to with me is which one is more efficient, and I think this one's more efficient.
It does get in quicker, and from the start, it does have. It's really hard to deny.
Also, they're totally different vibes too.
They're different. They really are.
Which helps like consume both of them. Like they're both really rad, but I just tend to go this one.
This one has the crazier, more brutal, harsher moments and meaner moments, I think, than anything off the Seer. The Seer felt more like a story to me. It's probably why I gravitated toward it. But the highs here are among the absolute best in all of music. I mean,
yeah, they are
some of the best songs ever written on this album. I can't even. Oh my god. Alex's best and personal favorite. It is worthy of your time if you can handle it, baby. If you can handle it. Oh boy. So around this time period is when the band started to not crumble, but they were getting heated. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. Oftentimes on stage, Michael does what he does, which is berate the band members on stage. And at a certain point, they were getting real fucking tired of that. I mean,
mom's not here anymore.
Yeah. So they're all older guys. At this point, Michael was in his 60s. Everyone else is pretty much in their 50s, except for Chris, I think. And they're like, fucking no, stop yelling at us on stage. We're trying to like get lost in this thing and do the best we fucking can. Yeah. And Michael's he's not trying to be mean, or he's just trying to get the most out of them that he possibly can. He's wringing them out like rags, really. So they said, fuck it. We're writing him a letter. We're all signing it. We're saying, you can't do this to us. You have to treat us with respect. You can't do this. And he fucking listened. He read it and he's like, okay. Right on. Okay. Which is like a thing that I don't think would have gone over well in the 90s. No. It would not have gone over no. And not only that, I think around this time period, I'm probably mixing it up a little bit, but around the time Michael stopped drinking. So what I wasn't expecting was that to be a bad thing for the happiness of everyone involved. Apparently, Michael's drinking made him way more joyful and sociable, and he had like it gave him some meaner moments, but like without it he was more intense and less willing to like have fun and let loose. So it became kind of more business when he got sober, which is interesting. You don't hear that side too often.
I guess if you get used to functioning on it,
you have to learn to refunction.
Yeah.
And with a guy like as intense as this, doing work as intense as this, that's very tricky. But even despite like the letter and him working with the band and being cooler, it still became a lot. And around 2015, at least according to Chris, the bass player, that's kind of when everyone was getting like, I feel like this is getting toward the end. I feel like we're almost done with this. Like, we've been around each other a lot, and like this is a lot. So I think around 2015, Michael said, "All right, one more, and then that's it. One more, and we're done." And I remember hearing that news around this time period, like, oh, he announced that, one more album, they're done. And I was like, Why? Like already?
Yeah.
Little did I know, behind the scenes, it's just fucking so hard. It's
I
so
just
tough.
assume it always is a mess.
Absolutely. And I didn't mention it earlier, but after my father will guide me up a rope. Michael got divorced from Siobhan, like in 2011. I think they got divorced, and around I think it was the Seer tour, he met Jennifer, his current wife. So she'll be kind of a part of some later albums that we're going to talk about. And I think even Christoph met his wife on tour. Phil, his girlfriend, I don't know if he's still with her, but he met her on the tour. So like, they're all like, we got a lot out of this.
Yeah.
Like, even if that was it, we met our fucking life partners, the mothers of our kids here. Like, this is an important thing we're doing here. This is pretty fucking great. But this album was partly funded again with a limited edition live double album called Not Here, Not Now, which was limited to 2,000 copies. Of course, they have to supplement all of their albums with another thing. And they really handmade these fucking albums.
Yeah.
They signed each signed and numbered each one. They packaged them like in Michael's living room, and they shipped them all out by hand, thousands of copies. Like, I don't remember who said it, but it's something like 5 minutes spent on each copy, and you multiply that by thousands and thousands.
That's a lot.
They really work so hard to be able to do this.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane, man. But on this album, like I said, we got Little Annie. She sometimes goes by Annie Anxiety. I didn't realize that she worked with Crass. Check out that episode. Current 93, Coil, Nurse with Wound, Lee Scratch Perry, Kid Congo Powers. Check out the Gun Club and the Cramps. Paul Oakenfold and Living Color. That's quite a mixed bag.
I'm going to call Tom out here, and I'm disappointed he didn't spell color
With the U?
because he lit.
That's a funny typo. Tom is a Europe man.
He should know these.
He normally spells color with a U. At the time that it's required, he did not.
So I'm going to
You're
call.
thin ice, buddy.
You're really pushing it.
What was it? Of course, St. Vincent or Annie Clark, whatever. St. Vincent's the stage name. Tom noted that Tom noted that he likes her version of Kerosene from Big Black. Check out that episode.
As do I.
I've never heard it.
I thought we listened. I thought you had like some like nitpicky things about it. I think it's rad.
I don't remember hearing it.
Okay. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
Because I had no other bands who've covered artists that I like that I really hated.
Unless you listen to it and you'll get back to me and you're like, I hate it. I was like, I did listen to it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because I love that song and I like her. I don't love her, but I do like her.
We have talked about.
Yeah. Or my love-hate thing with her. And yeah, she's respectable though. With her ethics and her, what is it? What's the word?
Her artistry.
That was the word. That's the word. And this is from the Knot from Gira's journal. He says this is a fucking like some of these quotes, they're not really super related to the album.
Just where he's at in life.
Exactly. And I love the way he words things and writes. Like even on Instagram, he's a really good follow, or the Swans page, because he mostly just posts like screenshots of movies he's watching or books he's reading or certain works of art with like really thoughtful captions and really articulate. And it's like, it's an interesting, very, if you're into art at all, that's like a good follow. But he says, God is in my daughter, drawing a crazed picture of a cat here beside me, intent, focused, following the lines. Since yesterday, she insists on following me everywhere, sticking to me like a tick. It's a bit annoying, but also touching. She says she misses me because I tour so much. Our love is perhaps the purest possible. Neither of us has any ulterior motives whatsoever. We just want to see the other person happy. My soul is in hers and hers is in mine. Strange, so strange to exist, but at this moment also lovely. Adding poignancy to this is the palpable approach of death. I think of it constantly, but not with enough focused clarity for this obsession to be productive. Jesus Christ.
This knows how to turn a good vibe into a bad one.
So easily on a dime. What is the point of awareness? Is it some sort of virtue? How could it possibly matter to the universe if I'm aware of, or even if I've sustained, or if I've attained a state of perfect attunement to existence? Lately, my sense of utter worthlessness has reached a state of nihilistic numbness, which bleeds into the kind of contentment a limbless human might feel while being fed its porridge, which I suspect is little different than a state of acute enlightened awareness, or in any event, the difference is irrelevant. Jesus Christ, that is actually quite profound, but just in such a bleak and bitter way.
You started off talking about your fucking daughter.
And how beautiful it was. But like, that is something I like to ponder as well. Like, yeah, what is the difference between completely enlightened and completely deprived?
Mm-hmm.
When you really boil it down, the actual raw spirituality of it, if you want to get a little hokey, it's like, oh man, everything is one. Oh my God. Oh my God. I love that fucking last paragraph. That quote is kind of the shit I chew on when I take my long walks. Damn, this band is fucked up.
Fucking long.
And now we are on to the last album with the Dream Team. Oh boy. I guess, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Hell yes. Let's do it. This is 2016's The Glowing Man. Do you have a timestamp for this one? Because might as well just sit with it, because this is going to take a while.
Yeah. Fuck, I didn't do it on this one. Well, this is do what we did.
Yeah.
We play a little bit and then I'll fast forward.
Yeah, this is a much more revved up intro than the past few that we've gotten.
Which is kind of surprising that they've, for the most part, have been quick and to the point.
Yeah. It's very surprising, actually.
This is like very beautiful and surreal. And
Definitely. Cinematic, too. Eases your way into the album instead of just throwing you in the deep end.
I am on my guard, though. I can't.
You have to always be on your guard. I already love it. God damn.
It's like oddly pleasant.
Yeah, it's quite soothing, actually. Like that piano, I don't recall them using it quite that way in the past 3 albums.
I can't think of like an acoustic guitar riff like this either.
Yeah,
I feel like they've been like twangy or dark.
It wasn't so much in like the bigger full band situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one, how long is this song? I believe it's 12 minutes, almost 13 minutes. As you might guess, it takes its time.
Yeah.
So this is ease out. I don't know. I don't have a time set of exactly when like the croons come in.
Well, I just threw around.
There it is. Again, would you expect him to be shouting like that over this? Like, there's always just something adjacent to what you're expecting. Yeah, so this one, it does get louder and bigger as it goes on, as you can kind of hear there.
Yeah.
But never
It feels like super cacophonous or painful. And then the final 3 minutes, it goes in this really big, angry section that absolutely fucking rules.
Yeah, that's the part I was waiting for.
Yeah, it's like the final 3 minutes of like
Yeah.
the whole song.
Also, worst least favorite.
Worst least favorite. I can't believe we agree on this. I am so relieved. Because I like this album a whole lot.
Sure,
But-
it's a good album.
There's reasons I had to give it worse, and I'm so relieved because I thought we were gonna fight. I really did. This is I love so many songs on here, and I don't think there's a single like bad song on here. I think the Seer and To Be Kind did it all a lot better, a lot more memorable. And the highs here, like if I take away this podcast, I take away the fact that I just heard the other albums and I put on this album, the big giant moments of atmosphere and pounding, crushing pain, and then it moves on to this musical island. It all feels great. And the part where the song kicks in, I'm like, oh, that's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But none of them are like the greatest thing they've ever done, like they have in the past 3 albums in a row.
Not as efficient for sure. Like Cloud of the Unknowing was the first song in this era where I was like, I don't really care for this song.
I like it. It is 25 minutes. It is no song on here crosses 30 minutes. I mean,
Hey,
one is 28 or 29, but
yeah,
none of them cross the mark. But putting a 25-minute song as track 2 is a bold move.
it's not even the length, obviously, but
Yeah, of course. I love the atmosphere in it. It goes into these like really surreal toms and droning kind of stuff, and then it comes in with this really, really awesome heavy 4/4 beat. I think it's pummeling and atmospheric at the same time. But like, again, all like the big cool hooky sections, they're just fucking cool. They're not like musical bliss or like ecstasy the way I felt on the past few.
yeah, for me it takes about like 18 minutes for me to pique my interest, and I'm like, that's a little too late.
So around 1440, this heavy bass comes in and the drums go ape shit. It's a very painful song. It's kind of sadder than most of their other epic songs. But 1820 is when the drums come back in with these fucking clicks and this really this bass line. How do I describe this bass line? It's almost like a telegraph.
What is it? Morse code?
Yeah, the telegraph Morse code. It's like that with these really cool clicks, and it's, I don't know, there's something really inviting about it that kind of hypnotizes you.
Throw it on for a quick.
Right on.
Yes, this part.
Yeah, that fucking.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. That section, and I could have said this about any song in the past few albums, but when I've mentioned in the past about infinity riffs, what I call infinity riffs, that's an infinity riff. It goes on for however long it goes on. You don't mind it going on for an hour. It can just keep looping. There's no inherent lifespan to that riff. It's wonderful. But then again, it comes on in the final 18 minutes to get to it.
I would wait 10.
10 is fair.
It's still generous, but yeah.
Then we get The World Looks Red, The World Looks Black, which comes in relatively quick compared to every other song, like the first 2 tracks.
That song's crazy because it kind of dabbles in a little bit of like goth rock.
Mm.
And then there's like these horns, and the horns are also like kind of funky.
Oh,
Like track 3, you go a lot of different unexpected places.
it's a very unusual song. Also, which I just learned, because it's called "The World Looks Red, the World Looks Black." "The World Looks Red" is a Sonic Youth song, which I believe is on "Confusion Is Sex," which is like my favorite Sonic Youth album. I didn't know Michael Gira wrote the lyrics to that song,
I didn't know that either.
and he uses those lyrics here.
Oh shit! Yeah,
Which different song entirely, but lyrics.
I've properly listened to one Sonic Youth. No. Well, yeah, I like one because I was like, I really like this, and I'm scared to go.
They're a band with like so many albums that you can kind of almost detach that this album was made by the same band as this album.
Yeah,
Confusion of Sex is my Sonic Youth. It's like that's the brutal, crazy stuff, and I fucking love it. But yeah, along with in that song as well as other parts, the really romantic piano, which again it wasn't very highlighted on the other albums, and here I tend to notice more of the ambient sections more. The ambient sections here feel way more of the forefront than the song sections.
it's like there's more room to breathe on these songs, and then so these instruments that have always been there feel more like the focus and like driving forces of the song.
It's almost like there's separation between the instruments more so than before.
Yeah.
On the same track, "World Looks Red, World Looks Black," around halfway is when things get heavier, because again, it is another 15 fucking minute song. The second half is when it gets it sounds almost like an espionage movie, like the way the drums come in with like this double picking guitar and there's doing a lot of hi-hat stuff.
You always beat me to it when I'm like, I wrote that for a different song.
Oh.
And then you feel that way about it.
Dude, sometimes they channel these like, that's a weird, I never would have expected that from this band. It sounds like out of a movie.
Yeah.
And then also the vocals in that section really, really remind me of Talking Heads. The backup vocals really remind me of Talking Heads. It's like, yeah, you said it was funky. I felt like, yeah, weirdly
Like towards
groovy.
the end.
Yeah, it's like weirdly groovy and fun. It's not light exactly, but it is like lighter. It is.
Yeah. No, it's like those. Are there horns on this again? Yeah, the horns are still kind of like there's an uneasiness to them. They're still kind of off a little bit.
Yeah, and also the outro is insanely Eastern sounding, really dramatic too. But yeah, it seems like on this album there's increasingly more ambience. Because I guess this is like the final form of the Dream Team.
Yeah.
People Like Us is jazzy. I mean, what the fuck?
I was like, this is like drunk and creepy at the same time.
It's 4.5 minutes, which is pretty short, and it's almost, yeah, I found it to be almost loungy and very uncharacteristic, kind of nice actually.
Fucking get the Doors out of here, man.
Oh, I know. It's the same thing. Spitting Image.
Same thing.
The one of the epics here is Frankie M, which I would say is my least favorite of their 20-minute plus songs.
No, I like it. It's not my least. Well, I just said Cloud of Unknowing.
Oh, yeah, that's of course. So this one, like all the others, it has like, it starts out with a lot of droning. I mean, the most droning of anything so far. I mean, especially the vocals. Holy shit. Really psychedelic too. Like drawn out and ethereal, and it floats around. There's no form to it. At around 8 minutes, 10 seconds when the song finally starts.
Yes.
It has this really repetitive, but not entirely soul crushing pounding section.
Stop writing all the same words.
Oh shit! Look at that, just simpatico. At 11:40 is when the song finally, like, so 8:10 is when like things start happening. 11:40 is when like the song part comes in, and it's like, it's really catchy, but I don't really like it. I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah, this was another one where I was like, oh, this kind of feels like goth rock, not that you would show it to someone who
Likes goth. Yeah.
But like the way Swan, like, oh, this is Swans doing like,
because it's like it's a minor. It's just two chords. It's a minor key riff, two chords, and it sounds almost like alt rock. It's a clean guitar riff. It's one of the most riffy things they've done in a while. It's very riffy, and the vocals are very catchy. He's just kind of repeating, Frankie M a lot of times, and it sticks in your head a lot. But I just don't love it. So I could see, it's one of those things where I could see how that would really work for people. It just doesn't for me. I do like the final section though. It gets a little bit more twisted in Swansea. But like, at 21 minutes,
kind of similar, like that took a little too long though.
Yeah. It's like, the epics here they're indeed epics, but they feel like, we've gotten this type of thing before, but with bigger highlights. When Will I Return? We have a beautiful, beautiful fucking song.
That's my favorite song on the album.
It's so good. That's Jennifer Gira singing lead on there. Very fitting and very pretty. Around 3 minutes 10 is when things kick in and fucking rule.
If the Cocktail Twins were psychopaths, they would record this song.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I mean they are, but just in different ways.
Different ways, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful song.
Except for Beth, that woman knows how to. She's like, my mental health is more important than.
She is smart, a smart lady for sure for not taking that payday, but also one of the most fucking brilliant singers ever.
Yeah, that song also like it segues nicely into the title track.
The title track. So this is what I brought it up with the Seer, how the Seer became the Seer because it was started from like an intro to I Crawled. I forgot to mention it on the last album. Bring the Sun, Tucson Literature. That was formed from the Seer. The Seer became that song.
Oh,
and that's song,
why it's in the title. And
that song became the Glowing Man. So basically, the title track here stemmed from I Crawled all the way back.
Yeah.
Each song kind of grew from the one before, which is pretty amazing.
That is pretty cool that they all have that DNA.
Yeah, they all came from the same spot. So the title track starts out sounding, I think, exactly like No Quarter from Zeppelin. It sounds so much like it.
It's weird because it's probably not fair. I'm oversimplifying here, but yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, this sounds, like someone at Guitar Center, like testing out a guitar more skillfully.
Oh, I felt more from that.
It felt more like, oh, I'm just like noodling around.
Oh, okay. Song kind of starts up around 3:45, which is sooner than most. You get these like really deep, almost throat singing vocals in the background.
I wrote that.
Yeah.
I think it's called like Tuvan throat.
Oh, is that? Oh, yeah.
Or
very
like,
unusual. Fucking
Dune.
Dune or Billy Bob Thornton and fucking Sling Blade. Around 7.5 minutes, you get this really awesome big section. And then around 15:10, you get a faster kind of bouncier section comes in. It's kind of the most danceable thing on any album, by far.
It's more like dark, heavy krautrock stuff.
I love it. I think it's great. It has these really nice female backup vocals kind of swirling around the mix. The Gira's being very aggressive there.
It's definitely the strongest 20-minute song on this album.
I might like. You know what? You're probably right. I don't know. I kind of like Cloud of Unknowing. I think I like the sections there more.
Yeah. That's where we come to blows.
Maybe. I haven't decided entirely yet, but my problem with the title track, and I guess Cloud of Unknowing as well, they all kind of follow the same patterns as the epics on the other ones.
Yeah.
Droney ambience, pounding section, droney ambience, musical island, droney ambience, second musical. Like they all kind of follow the same kind of maybe not the exact patterns, but the kind of like ebbs and flows of like, all right, we're going up, we're going down, we're going up, and I guess the novelty just sort of wore off.
I think I had that moment too where it's like it's just crazy, and it's so much to take in, and then you have like that moment Neo has where you see all the numbers.
Yeah.
And I think that happened for me.
Yeah, you see how like they are repeating themselves.
There is like a method to the madness.
Yeah, even though they are constantly growing and evolving, the songs are always taking new shape. They did fall into a pattern, and I think that's another part of the reason that this was going to be the last one. Like, all right, Gira has done this a lot with past members or past lineups where it's like, I've exhausted what we can do with this group of people. I can't pull anything new out of this. Like, this has to end. And hearing this in this context, I finally appreciate that, because I was sad when I was like, no more. But it's not like this is a bad album. It's like, if they would have done one more with this exact lineup, then that probably would have been a bum album. This is still a good album, I feel like.
Still very solid. Still some good things on here. And
yeah, the only thing left is the closer, Finally Peace, which is borderline cheerful.
Yeah, it's upbeat. I like the different singing and vocalists on there, and it's a lie because there's 2 more albums left.
Yeah. It is a lie. There is more, but this is the end of this lineup. I found it to be a kind of pretty natural sounding and nice closer. But so this album was, of course, like all the others, was funded, or at least in part funded, by limited edition live double album called The Gate, which was, they made 2,500 copies of that one. And yeah, so Jennifer Gira, Michael's wife, of course, sang lead on When Will I Return, as well as she did some of the backing vocals on Finally Peace, which I like the mix of that because her vocals are almost taking up more space in the mix than Gira or than Michael, because, and it gives it a nice kind of almost like a disarming quality of it, where it's just less harsh and less aggressive.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So
I think if you have peace in your song title,
I hope so. Yeah. I hope there's some peace from this guy. You got Ok-Young Lee, South Korean cellist and composer, apparently moved to New York in 2000 and has gone to be a part of many collaborations, including Laurie Anderson, Thurston Morris, Stephen O'Malley, Jim O'Rourke, John Zorn. Yeah, holy shit.
All the best.
Yeah, cello on Cloud of Unknowing. And yeah, let's see. So here's another extract from Michael's journal. Of course, as philosophical and depressing as you'd expect. It says, the Zen questions, who is thinking these thoughts? And as I watch these thoughts pass across the screen of my mind, who is watching them pass? The essential consciousness before words and thoughts, is that emptiness? How can emptiness have a consciousness? Is the emptiness that is watching my thoughts and the events of the world pass through it God? Is God thinking me into being, thinking the world into being? If God is thinking it into being, then why does God bother with such a futile pursuit? When placed in the context of infinity, all of our endeavors here on earth are puny and senseless, or if there is a sense, then that truth is absurdly beyond our comprehension. Thoughts are like flies on the window screen. Exterminate them. So it's like a fairly, I think, common meditation, that kind of thing. You know, just of course, to look at things more cosmically, acknowledge how insignificant we are. But in such a Swans way to put it, in such a
ending it with exterminate them. Yeah.
Exterminate thoughts like flies on a window screen. I like that. Just very colorful fucking language. So yeah, this is the break when they finally stopped. This is what Michael said to Tom during his interview about this break here, or at least this disbanding of this particular lineup. Michael says, we decided to disband, at least temporarily, the consistent Swans lineup we enjoyed from 2010 to 2018 after 8 years of being in each other's presence constantly while rehearsing, touring, and recording without any meaningful breaks. The collaborative way we worked as a group was no longer bearing the same ripe fruit it did at our peak, so we let it go. Also, the sheer athletic endurance of the 30-minute plus pieces and 3-hour sets we seemed to inevitably develop was increasingly beyond us physically to perform effectively. So beginning with Leaving Meaning, I decided to make Swans a more open-ended venture with musicians coming and going from project to project. Certainly more sustainable for a man approaching 70. And
some of the stuff that the band members talked about with these performances, like the injuries of like I forget who it was, but someone who's playing keys said they got like fucking tennis elbow from just holding the keys for so long in a certain way.
Fucking hell.
It's like when you think of carpal tunnel, you think of all these kind of injuries, it's always through repetition that they happen. It's never through like, well, sometimes it's through like one big crazy movement, but oftentimes it's through repetition. This music is all repetition. Everything they do is just, and it, especially with Michael screaming at you and staring at you to hit as hard as you possibly can.
He's gonna be the first person to have a musician get a Tommy John surgery.
Fuck. Dude.
If you're a baseball fanatic, which I know one person is.
Hell yeah, we got at least one. But yeah, so this was the end of this, and they all kind of knew it. Actually, I think it was before this tour for The Glowing Man, Thor quit. Thor quit before everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And he was already like planning on quitting because he was done, exhausted.
There's things in Asgard that need to be taken care of.
Listen, Loki's running amok. He needed to get...
Someone needs to step up.
So I think he was already at the point where like, I've done everything I can with this band. This is the end. And he was feeling really guilty. And then Michael was like, one more and we're done. And he's like, oh, perfect. Beautiful. So I think he left before the final tour. And then, that was it. But it's not the it. We're still not done. This open-ended thing seems you're going to get a lot of overlap, a lot of repeat people, a lot of people who didn't really leave, but you feel the difference immediately.
Yes.
So The Glowing Man, good album, but clearly the end of a rope in both of our worst and least favorites. Still great album. Still check it out, especially if you're into this sick world that we're in right now. But time to move on.
Yes, sir.
Here we go, baby. This is 2019's Leaving Meaning.
Oh, hold on.
Track 2, right?
Yeah. There we go.
So on the opening track is just an intro, but you don't get a dissimilar feeling than The Glowing Man because it kind of eases your way in.
But
this song comes on.
Also, this stays minimal. It stays peaceful, unlike The Glowing Man. Also,
angelic, really.
Also, long-time listeners will know Mike already put this on his best of 2019 list.
Sure did.
I did not have the time to give this a full listen.
We were strapped for time.
Yes.
And this is a long album. Not as long, but it's still long.
This is a
right here and right now.
A fucking
The first
great response to these overtly long.
100%. This is the perfect response.
I'm somewhere in you, and I'll never.
This is the most angelic sounding thing they've done this entire era by far.
Yes.
I love his voice here. It's so powerful.
My impossible friend. How is it true that we even exist? Well, I'll follow you down with our limbs interlocked. The Buddha was right, and Saint John of the Cross. A word is a thought.
Goddamn. All right.
And
So it goes on. It's not super taxing. It's actually quite lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And I do. So at the time when this came out, it was on my list and I loved it immediately, but I didn't have time to really fucking absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it more now.
Also, like with perspective of the other albums.
Oh, 100%. It's
Yeah.
so different. It's so different than the others. This is the gentle album. Out of all this whole era, this is the soft, pretty, angelic, gentle album.
But there's still disturbing things.
Yes, there are.
Like The Hanging Man.
It's so good. Dude, The Hanging Man. So it's the only song that sounds like it could be on a previous album here.
I was going to say on the last album, I don't feel like they really like, maybe because they went so hard on the psychedelia on To Be Kind that I didn't really feel like it was on the previous album. So it's like kind of a nice, like, oh, okay. We'll still dabble in that.
Right. Because, well, one thing I love about The Hanging Man is, so at least tonally and the type of riff that it's revolving around, it feels like, it's a repetitious, bitter, kind of mean, heavy thing, but it's way more reined in and quieter. What it reminds me of is the Bootlicker by the Melvins.
Oh,
where it's like, these are just Melvin songs played clean.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that's a big, giant, heavy Swan song played cleaner.
Yeah.
And the vocals around like 4 minutes 40 are fucking super sadistic.
You still get like babbling and screaming.
Yep. Around 5:20, it takes this shift toward like sounding very Eastern, and it gets bigger and louder. And before returning to that main riff, it's like, it's so fucking well done. There's no big, huge payoff or big explosion like with the other songs like that.
I will say, like, to me, the explosions or the vocals and then the instruments go there like once and then it's back to.
Yeah, it's very again, very reined in. It's not this lengthy build up to one giant climax. It's like, no, it's way more of like the earlier mid-period Swans where it's like, we're gonna repeat this a lot and we're gonna throw in embellishments and we're gonna evolve it, but it's not gonna like explode.
Yeah.
It's very contained and it's a great fucking song. It's almost 11 minutes and it flies by. Amnesia is, I think, the first time in this era we get multiple acoustic guitars.
It felt like a very like dark lullaby.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Love it. Fucking gorgeous, haunting. And by that point in the album, even though The Hanging Man had some moments, it's like, oh, this is a soft album. This is, relatively soft, because the stuff here feels so hopeful and really, again, angelic. Like the layers are really, like you hear the ethereal female vocals in the background, the piano, the very minimal single piano plucks, and there's some strings on here too. There's strings on most of the albums, but they're more kind of isolated, so you can you hear them as you hear it as a cello rather than as a part of this whole ensemble. Yeah, like and go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say the title track is like it is a masterpiece.
Fucking so good.
I love the piano so much on there. And again, I can't think of a song where it's like the piano was like the driving force. And so it's this cool thing where maybe the focus was on the wall of sounds or guitars and drums. And then this is like, we're going to let the piano be the star.
It's romantic and bleak, but with a very Western feel. Like that song, I felt it transporting me somewhere. Like it's so moving. And it's like songs like that, along with a few others, but it's like the most repetitive they've been in ages, even though they've always been repetitive. But again, it's just more like it ends up feeling more psychedelic and soothing because it's not building that much. It's just repeating. So it kind of lulls you into this thing. And it's like stepping onto a carousel or something. Like now you're just spinning with it. But it's also really inviting because it's so gentle and pretty. Like that song, I feel couldn't be shorter. Like I don't want it to fucking end.
No. I mean, I called it a masterpiece, so obviously I don't have any
No problems with it.
Yeah.
11 minutes, 20 seconds is not long enough.
of perfection. Yeah.
Sunfucker is another one of the more abrasive songs. Very interesting song.
I like that there's like rhythmic chanting.
Yep.
It's minimal, but it's still powerful. There's a part where like some synths kick in, and I hope no one's on drugs because it's abrasive.
Dude, that's a strange, man. Almost tribal female vocal shouts are behind Michael. Kind of whiny sounding.
Yeah.
And then, like 5.5 minutes, drums finally go in, and it jumps into this almost doo-wop style vocal performance with this 4/4 beat. Very strange. Like,
yeah, it's a very like cool, strange, unique song, even amongst all this insanity that is Swans.
yeah, I don't love every part of it. I don't love like that doo-wop sounding part so much, but it's just another turn, another shift in style that they've never done, and it's always exciting. In the final 2 minutes, Jennifer comes in with lead along with Michael on the final section, which is very nice. That song takes you places. It's one of the weirdest songs. I dig it though.
Hell yeah.
Cathedrals of Heaven. Fuck, man. I love it. Love it.
Those lyrics are unsettling, and I'm glad I don't pay attention to them more often.
I'm very glad I didn't pay attention to that. I have no idea what the lyrics are.
I should have wrote some of them down. I think I was just like, oh God, let me delete that.
Oh my God. It's another song with that's has the signature Swans feel, but just way softer. And songs like that where it was like, oh, this is absolutely just another era. Like this era is basically 2 in 1 because it feels like a completely different shift. You know it's them, but it's not even close to what we had before. And some of these sounds, it might be a mellotron. I can't tell. I'm not good at pinpointing instruments, but some of these sounds are just so relaxing, which is the thing that we just didn't ever get on any of these albums before. It was never relaxing. This is like, hypnotizing. Another 8 minutes that just flies by.
You know what isn't relaxing?
What was that?
The nub.
The nub. I love the nub.
I was like, this is the most evil jazz shit I've heard, given I'm not an expert in jazz, but I was like, yeah, there's something bad going on in a dark alley, and this song is playing. And then I see there's some band on here called The Next.
The Next. Yeah, that is made up of
it's like avant-garde jazz band from Australia.
Yeah, Chris Abrams and Tony Buck.
Yeah, so I definitely
and Lloyd Swanton. Sorry,
I definitely want to check their stuff out after listening to this because Also, I'm losing track of singers. Was Baby D on a previous?
No. Baby D. Yeah, Baby D. As different. Well as. Are you thinking of Little Annie?
Too many little.
Yeah. So on the nub, it's not just the Next on there. It's also Baby D, Faye Kristen, Ida Albert. I can't read that name. I'm sorry. It's Ida Michelle's. It's a whole choir of voices, and it doesn't sound like Michael's on there at all.
Yeah.
But so what it is it's the song that has all of these characteristics of Swans. You feels like you know it's them, and then this completely different choir of voices that you don't recognize comes in, and it's I fucking love that. Like it's the perfect way to make a step towards something different. It's like, all right, I'm going to invite you with something that you recognize, and then switch it to something that you don't, and that's how we make new ground here.
Yes, and it fucking works.
Works.
Great song.
Next we got It's Coming, It's Real. How do you feel about this one?
I felt like that was another one. Like it's been a long time, but kind of tapping into the Angels of Light. Yes,
almost bluesy. It's got like a modulating main riff, almost happy sounding. It's still soft, of course, still very atmospheric as shit. A lot of great
female backup vocals, some brushed drums, different feel, but I like it as well. And that one builds in like I don't know how to explain it other than like it builds in an accessible way.
Mhm.
It's not ear piercing, or it's not like overwhelming or intense or anything. It just builds in a very nice way. Another song, which I'm glad it's long. Certain songs like that one, I at first I'm like, I don't know if I really like this. It's fine. Then as it keeps going on, and I'm like, yep. The length somehow transforms it.
Justified. I kind of have the same thoughts about some new things where arguably, it's coming, it's real, and some new things are normal music.
Yeah, in a way.
But it's much needed. It's much needed. Like
some new things, dude. I think it's the only song I don't like from this era of Swans. It makes me laugh.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think they're any less interesting.
No.
Yeah.
So if you've heard, let's say you just listen to Be Kind and you put on some new things, you'll be very confused.
Yeah.
It's like a blend of like 60s garage rock and 90s alternative.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds nothing like anything Swans has ever done. It's almost like this could kind of be on the radio. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it's got, I mean, it has as deep of instrumentation as you'd expect, but with a bizarrely poppy main driving hook, which is so unusual. What is this? Dude, I don't know what it is about that fucking song, but it hits me in a certain way and I can't even handle it, dude.
Yeah.
That song fucks me up.
I think I was just kind of lost where that one didn't really stick with me the way other things did.
It's kind of like a pop ballad, especially at first, where the bass is kind of just hanging on one note staccato and Michael singing over it. But it felt very, or it feels very melancholy in a 90s way or an early 2000s way. And then around 2.5 minutes in, percussion comes in and it starts getting really triumphant. And then it gets so melancholy to the point where it's like making me feel bad. I'm like, fuck, this is like really depressing me, like in a way that I like. And as it keeps building, more female vocals start coming in toward the end. I find it to be fucking heartbreaking, like a devastating song. I really like it a lot.
I think also I like Phantom Limb just like stayed with me.
That one's unsettling. Probably the most unsettling song on the album.
Yeah, you still need to, even through all these nice moments, you still need to remind people that you're crazy and mentally disturbed.
Yeah.
And you still need to scream, I'm the avatar of your semen.
It's just a great line. Dude.
Fucking is sacred. Music is sacred. Mic drop.
Dude. Bars, dude.
Bars.
So that the way that song opens is there's this really heavy drum beat, but a sea of Michael's vocals speaking over each other. Mm-hmm. So it's already like, all right, this is schizophrenic as fuck. This is super paranoid. Yeah, oh my God. Different. I mean, completely different feel than anything on this part of the album, even on the whole album. And it's more itchy and unsettling, but I mean, it's like it's like the music is only there as glue to hold the vocals in place. That's
a great way to put it.
It's such a strange piece, man.
Imagine just like you have the masters of these and this like acapella.
Fuck that.
Or like you're watching him record the vocal.
That'd be fucking upsetting. I think it's a great closer, but it has a bitch ass quick fade out.
Oh, there it is. Deal breaker. No, not a deal breaker.
Not a deal breaker, but you do crave it to kind of like let the note die or decay a little bit longer. So the dream team is gone, but this is a whole new step. It feels
to me the perfect response to all these. It's still a long album, right?
Yeah. So this one's only an hour and a half compared to 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's Yeah, my soul needed this. I'm sure his soul needed that too.
Yeah, it definitely feels a lot more calm.
But still
Swans, of course.
Still deranged.
So this was funded by a limited edition album of acoustic demos called "What Is This," which was they made 2,500 copies of that, and because this is a more open-ended, loose format for the band, Gira is, of course, handpicking each member or each guest and member kind of deliberately. But here we still have Christoph on lap steel and other guitars. We still have Phil. I think minimally though. He's only plays on Amnesia, hammer dulcimer, so he's not playing in drums. We have Norman on we don't know exactly which. I think Gira just said, or the statement said that Norman played on a few key moments on this record. It doesn't say which specifically. The same with Chris on bass, just a few moments. The only returning people are, well, actually, we have Thor also plays some parts on here, but the only consistent one that stayed is Christoph.
Yeah,
he's the only one who's officially never really left. Thor, Phil, Norman are on, and Chris are on here, but they're just ambiently. But the main lineup now we have is Michael, Christoph, Larry Mullins.
Real quick, where's I know.
He's been with them in the past. Stooges.
Oh,
Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Okay.
He's a real deal.
Yes.
What other Swans albums has he been on? I don't know if he's been on other Swans albums. I forget, but he's
go down. Stop.
Oh yeah. So he was on Soundtracks for the Blind, Dieter Itzu, the German EP, Swans Are Dead. Yeah, and then this album, the next one. So yeah, I forgot he was there for the last lineup before they broke up. And then Yo-Yo Rome on bass, Larry on drums, of course. And the guests on here, we got all kinds. We got so many. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they did release.
I only know one of them.
Who was the one?
Anna and
which one? Oh, Anna von
yeah.
Hauswolf.
Yes.
I know her name. Where did you, I don't know her stuff, but I just know her name.
Yeah, she's like a solo musician.
Yeah, so they released a whole bunch of information on who they're doing, but basically, for the Next, for example, Gira said, I've been an avid Next fan since I first saw them perform at a Big Ears Festival in 2010. They subsequently played with Swans at a few shows in Australia. And he says, I'm beyond honored and humbled that they agreed to perform the basic tracks for 2 of my songs. Their performances were then delicately and I hope tastefully further orchestrated upon in Berlin. Tony lives in Berlin and also plays drums on the song, Some New Things. And he goes into a little bit for each member. We're running out of time, so we can't go into each one. But also, I forgot Larry Mullins, also a resident, alleged resident. Although I think the names of the members have been released by this point.
Yeah. I don't know too much about the.
I've only heard one Residents album, and it was very good. They're a wild fucking band. But do I remember the name of the album? Of course I do not. But yeah, this A New Step, great fucking album. Gentle, pretty, angelic, very inviting. You probably wouldn't be embarrassed or afraid to put this on in front of company for the most part. Some songs, sure, but
I don't think I'm putting any Swans on except for you and Dylan.
I will do it in front of anybody and everybody. They have to accept me as I am, not for who they want me to be. But we have one more, and this is exclusive for us. Maybe not you because the album is out by the time you're seeing this, but go listen to it now. Brand new album just came out, and we have plenty more to talk about. Are you ready?
I am ready.
It's been a long, lengthy journey. This is, I believe, the longest episode we've done. Probably the longest episode we've done.
Yes.
Here it is, everybody. 2023's The Beggar.
So fucking good.
Fucking amazing.
I hope someone puts this in a horror movie.
I know. It feels so good for it. Oh, I fucking forgot to read stuff.
Righteous, pure, and sour with death. Here I am, just empty skin.
Also would fit
There
like
is no
a low part of like a western.
Yeah.
There is no way.
It does have a sense of Western to it, but it's much more cold and dying.
If you wear a cowboy hat as much as Michael does,
That's true.
You should have some western.
It's gonna seep in.
Yeah.
All information is equally true. Feed on me, feed on me, feed on me now. Feed on me, feed on me, feed on me now.
Oh man.
So goddamn, we're running out of time. Dude, fucking God. Damn.
We can take our time.
We can take our time now, but we're not as close to the end as we were a fucking minute ago. Holy shit, I didn't realize it was gonna take this long, but
I did.
you did. You're a smart man.
I knew in my soul.
Yeah, I didn't expect the first 3 albums to take 2 hours, but this album, I'm endlessly grateful to have gotten it, to hear it at all before, like
The masses.
because this is I would say on the surface, really pretty and inviting, but a very difficult album to digest. There is so much here. I mean, there is nuance for days.
It is very interesting how there does seem to be like a foundation of Swans where it's like you know it's them, but then this is like even different than the last album.
Yeah, because I was expecting. I mean, I tend to these days. I've learned better than to go and expecting too much.
Mhm.
But while it does have more in common with the Leaving Meaning than it does any of the other albums before it, this one definitely has the most in common with the '90s era than anything here. I'd say by a lot.
There is a darkness here.
This is, I'd say, the most gothy I think they've ever sounded.
Yeah. Parasite is mine, which is a single, right?
Yeah. I think my favorite song on the album, if I had to pick one. I fucking love this song.
Man, that's hard for me to pick right now, but yeah, it's a great song. This is the song where I'm like, they're doing like 70s spy music.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And then, man, when he sings, "Are you ready to die?" Just
What a funny line. That's just always a funny line to me. So aside from this being a little bit darker and gothier, at least it seemed to me gothier, a lot less form, a lot less rigid structure. I mean, they never really had rigid structure, but even like the rhythms are very floaty. For the Parasite example, the Parasite, as it goes on and things kind of rise, it's still so floaty and uneven, like you're walking on sand. There's no, the structure is extremely loose, and it ends up giving it a more psychedelic feel to it.
Mhm.
Everything on here, I think, is like soup. Along with the last album, I get the most psychedelia on this album. Some of these parts are really hypnotic. And again, there's not like a rigid, heavy rhythm section in most of these songs.
It's crazy. Like Los Angeles City of Death.
Best fucking song title ever. I love it. I couldn't agree more.
3. It's probably more like Detroit or whatever the current murder capital is.
What's the Indiana? I forgot.
Indianapolis?
No.
Gary, Indiana?
Indiana.
And
Chicago or something.
anyways, yeah, it's crazy. It's 3 minutes,
Yep.
but it's still very hypnotic.
Yep. I got some serious mid-period Jarbo vibes from that song. Good energy and the so the reason I keep getting there's several reasons why I keep thinking of the mid-period 90s stuff. One, because it feels very gothy and the songs kind of have that timbre to them. But the backup vocals here, which a lot of them are done by Jennifer, they really blend. They bleed together and they blend the way Jarbo's did. Or they have like they support the songs the way Jarbo's vocals did in that period. I can't help but think of it. And then also I don't want to say industrial, but kind of some parts of the industrial type drumming. So you get like Los Angeles City of Death, the really pounding rhythmic, rigid drums. So like when there isn't any drums, it's very floaty and formless. When there is drums, it's super fucking industrial. Like,
yeah, especially towards the like outro of that song.
Yes. Michael Is Done, which is a fucking incredible goddamn song.
More like Alex is done. No, I'm kidding. I love the like escalating bass in that song. And then it kind of takes this unexpected turn where the guitars feel kind of light and you have bells.
Yep.
And it makes it sound optimistic, although I'm sure the lyrics are not.
Oh, and with a title like Michael Is Done.
Yeah.
That song, White Light, that's all I hear is White Light because it starts out with this really chilling setup. I think it's Michael and Jennifer singing together, I believe, with these like Christmas bells kind of guiding them. And then when the drums come in, it turns super jubilant and triumphant and bright, like really shiny the way White Light is. And more, even Tom pointed this out to me. The drums on that part where it's like, it ends the beat with a little, a small snare roll. Like that's like, it's so characteristic of that mid period. Like,
yeah,
that type of little embellishment. It's like, oh, this is like, he had to have been exposed to those albums recently or really thinking about them or something. Great fucking song. And then Unforming, we get Unforming after that, which is another, I mean, this has like the most happiness of any album in this entire era, this whole album.
I felt like that was like sad.
You felt sad from Unforming, really?
Yeah, sad, dark. I do like these like minimalistic songs that are never like lacking, because some bands when they go minimal you're like it's missing.
Yeah,
I never feel that way with Swans when they go minimal.
It's not only, especially because we're always treated as something with a whole bunch of stuff right after or before it, so the minimal is almost necessary. But it's funny because I felt that song to be like contained happiness, hopeful almost. But it has these really, really nice guitar, acoustic guitar and piano plucks that come in. And they really, seriously, I think of Morning Sun when I hear that song.
Dang. We listened to two different songs.
That's how deep this shit is, brother.
Yeah. Or maybe I was like more focused on the lyrics and you were just drawn to these instruments on here.
The title track is it's 10 minutes, so it's lengthy by normal song standards, but fine by us in Swan standards. Dude, I fucking love, that's what I mean about like going into the industrial type drums. When the drums come in on that song, Jesus Christ, it's like I can't help but think of Love of Life. Yeah. I mean, it feels fucking amazing. Very gothy, very gothy.
I appreciate when a song can be sleazy and dark at the same time.
It is sleazy. It's surprisingly sleazy. Yes.
And then the thing that really stood out to me was like the interplay and the back and forth between like different guitar parts was very neat. Felt like different for Swans.
That song bounces back between these two main sections. One is with these really creepy hushed vocals, and
very chilling minimal section, and then this big industrial 4/4 driving section. It kind of dances between the two. But at like around 8 minutes, Michael lets out a sound that I've never heard him fucking make. I've never. It's the most pained, absolute agonizing sound I've ever heard him make, and it's so strange hearing that, because I mean the man has screamed a lot on these albums, but that's ooh boy, really moving song that's kind of always stuck in my head. No More of This is probably maybe my least favorite. No, it's not my least favorite song, but it is one that I'm like, I don't love it. It's too happy for me. It's too happy for me.
I like when a song title encapsulates how I feel. But no, I needed a song like that to like release me from the like brutal insanity of the band. I really like the placement of that on this album.
It is very hopeful. It brings back the hope. I'd say that song is like the happiest thing since something off the Burning World or something. It's that happy, hopeful, maybe not happy. Around 4.5 minutes in, this big giant female choir vocals come in with these really strong hits, super majestic, really giant sounds. It's like there's still pain in these songs, but just in a very delicate way. It's not quite as stabby.
Sure.
Ebbing. I feel like a little bit more whimsical, almost like fantasy like sounds on there.
Yeah, it kind of starts off menacing, but then goes into the again more like Angels of Light territory. I love how big the vocals sound when and this like this is a really cheesy metaphor, but I love the like wall of sound. Like you can kind of hear it getting filled in like brick by brick.
Oh, yeah. The where Michael's backed by these female vocals. It definitely reminds me of the Jarboe stuff, but it also gives everything a very unassuming, non-threatening kind of. It's like the song is coming at you with a peace offering instead of like threatening you. And then around 4 minutes 50, because it's like 11-minute song. Around 4:50, drums come in with this really satisfying 6/8 beat. Very cathartic. I like the way that one builds up. Why can't I have what I want anytime that I want? Man,
that song fucking rules.
Fucking rules.
It's like evil Middle Eastern sounding riffs, but you have like the sinister lyrics to help bolster it. I love the way the tom drums sound on it.
Yeah, the fucking spectacular backup vocals and bass here too. I think they have a feel entirely of their own. And the drums in there are almost have like a gypsy vibe to them.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it reminds me of one song of the Burning World that I can't remember exactly, but there's one like really minor key song of the Burning World with really interesting percussion. And I was surprised at how much of this reminded me of the Burning World. Like if the Burning World was not so produced and it was a little bit more gritty.
Like this is probably like more what he had in mind,
or like what the natural progression was.
Okay,
because I think at the time he was just like, I don't know what I want, but I'm gonna follow this guy and see and work with him and see if. I mean, I still like the album, but definitely the songs I had heard afterward, that those songs they reworked, and the live versions of those songs are like, those are the versions.
Yeah,
still haven't heard them yet. I will. Then the fucking elephant in the room, the longest song they've ever done. Get ready, everybody. 44 minutes. The Beggar Lover 3 is 44 minutes. And my notes on that song alone are
a page.
Yeah, basically a page. So it's a full-length album. This one song is a full-length album. There's a lot to say about this song. So, oh boy.
I guess it kind of starts off like when you see like an orchestra and they're like just start like, is it warming up? But like when they're kind of this messing around.
Yeah.
And then everyone gets quiet. And then they start to
like tuning up and sort of setting the stage a little bit.
but like really long.
Dude, the first 4 minutes are just atmospheric buildup.
Mm-hmm.
The first 4 minutes, which is like fine, we've dealt with plenty long. On the Seer, we waited 9 minutes for the song to start. It's fine. And then this female spoken word comes in, which fucking is super creepy. The way it's produced, the actual quality of the voice is very unusual and unsettling. And then it goes into this creaking like you've never heard, insane creaking, and then a cacophony of toms, just like you fucking people make me sick.
Yeah, bombarded with drums.
So it's already like, okay, we're setting this up. This is a fucking this is not a song really. This is an experimental piece. This is a giant experimental piece, and it takes like 12 minutes before bass and drums come in. That's what we're dealing with here. So 12 minutes is like setting up this insanely dark, really creepy atmospheric stuff. I would say like the most, not just goth like the genre, but the most gothic sounding stuff they've ever done.
Yeah.
Where it really does feel evil and creepy and really kind of disturbing.
Yes. Like the world is ending. And then you're greeted with this, like, I guess, like kind of loose psychedelic section where it's anchored by the like percussion and stuff. But I feel like the other instruments are a little more like free form.
Definitely free form. A lot of it mostly reminds me of. So this whole piece is like, oh, this is Soundtracks for the Blind, but condensed into like one album or one track. That's album length. They even have fucking murder synths, like full on horrifying murder synths. This is all before 12 minutes, by the way.
Yes. Yeah.
So it goes into all this stuff. Jump like the fucking spoken word stuff, the murderous toms, the murder synths, the fucking noisiness and atmosphere. So it's like so many different unpleasant emotions out the gate, and then some music finally comes in.
Yeah, I really do enjoy the like layers and textures they add to it.
Yes. And when the band kind of comes in, it does get hypnotic. It sounds really good. Around 18 minutes in, the exact same big section from the title track comes in, but with slightly different arrangements. So
I jokingly said a proper drum beat comes in around there.
it is proper. It is. I was a little off put that it's the same exact riff as the title track, but in the context of this thing, it's like a whole different beast.
I mean, it makes sense. It's the Beggar.
It's extension of the song. Yeah. Then after that section kind of dies down, you just get this fucking gorgeous choir of voices, almost Beatlesy in the melody. The melody is almost Beatlesy, which is, it's so strange hearing it after the stuff that we sat through.
I was not expecting that section to end with like the THX.
Oh yeah.
But I know that's not what it is. And then it's like like vocalization of it was like,
yep.
Whoa.
Just fucking children's voices. There's strange tapping and scraping. Like, again, it's all super Soundtracks for the Blind, but way more, it feels more focused and intentional. That one was a lot of like piecing things together like a puzzle. This feels a little bit more deliberate. Then after more of that creepy soundscape shit, you get some really chilling acoustic guitars. But it's all, even though they're playing notes and melodies, it all feels so abstract. Nothing at all like the other Epic songs. It's like it's just not even the same league as them. Like, and I don't mean that as in it's better or worse. It's just a completely different game. Around 32 minutes in, you get a fucking whole bunch of kettle drums, which transitions into this really minimal, groovy drum click and bassline section.
Also, that has got to be like the smoothest, most like in the pocket drum beat in the history of Swans.
Actually, yeah, you know what?
Put on a little bit of that son bitch.
32 what?
Try 34. Let's just
Okay.
see what happens. That's what it is. Do you recognize this?
I don't.
Well, we heard it today. Cloud of Unknowing. The end of Cloud of Unknowing.
They tricked me into liking this song.
But you liked that section.
Oh yeah, that was
I had a feeling. I didn't put it together till just now. Yeah, it's the same section, which again, in the context of this, it's completely different. For one, I think this is probably a better done track than the Cloud of Unknowing.
Yeah.
But it's giving different context and different arrangements to these already kind of spectacular pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends on that section.
What I will say, there's some like chimes bought in on that section. It feels so good.
Again, a thing that you don't want to ever end. It's like the whole. It's hard to really summarize the entire track, but it's like it's still it's experimental as fuck. It's a very adventurous piece, but
there is a lot of like drone and
it's a
stuff that I kind of skipped over to get to the meat and potatoes of the song.
It's all very exhausting, but it is still very musical. It's experimental, but it's not losing any of like the songness of it. I don't know. It's because a lot of Soundtrack for the Blind was just like, oh boy, it's just a lot of noise and you have to sit through a lot of like experimental kind of soundscapes and stuff. This one feels again very cohesive and it's like a whole full piece. It's not something you're going to put on all the time. It's a lot. It's 44 fucking minutes. And it's not exactly song 1, song 2, song 3. It's very much a whole thing. You have to set aside time and you and let it wash over you.
It's an experience.
Absolutely an experience. And it's not the last song on the album. The last song on the album is The Memorious.
Yes.
That's my least favorite song on the album.
Really?
Yeah. I like it up to the first 4 minutes and then it just keeps going.
I kind of wish it opened this too, because I like it. It is like more in the vein of like the psychedelic stuff, but after this like crazy 45-minute song,
yeah,
I'm just like I don't feel like it's necessary.
Yeah, it almost has a like a 60s early 70s feel to it, which is unusual, and it's kind of like, all right, that's a weirdly kind of rocking following this epic, but then it has like these baby cries in there. It's like, okay, you still have to make it creepy and weird, with like some monotone spoken word vocals over top of it. And the main thing I don't like about it is that there really isn't any kick to it. Like it sounds like the kick drum is muted or not there at all. Like there's very little punch to it. And at 8.5 minutes, it actually doesn't build up. It just kind of repeats the way a lot of the songs on the last album did. So I don't love it as a closer, but this is a tough album that is gorgeous and deep and heart-wrenching, but fuck.
Also,
it's fucked up. It's a fucked up album.
Also, I don't know if these notes are correct. It says the Beggar Lover 3 is excluded from the vinyl release. So I'm sure there's financial reasons. You can only press so much vinyl.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want to chop it in half in the middle, but
yeah, because a lot of the other ones you had to chop the songs in half.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't feel like that's the full experience of the album. If you get the vinyl one after you finish, why can't I have what I want? Just go out of your way, listen to the Beggar.
Yeah, it's a fucking part of the album. It's an intense experience. There's some stuff that I forgot to mention on the last album, like Dana Schechter, who was previously Angel of Light member. She was on that album and she's on this one as well. And then I also skipped another extract from Michael's journal, which I like this quote because it's again, it's a nice little insight into like things that might be a reality the further we get with technology. He says, I wonder how much space in a computer it would take up to download the entire contents of my consciousness. Is it really just information? Could it be translated in ones and zeros? Some people seem to think so, but I find the notion preposterous and in some essential way blasphemous. How much information, quote unquote, is involved in a single episode of Night Terrors, for instance? How could this possibly be quantified? And moreover, why the fuck should it be? Why is it that somehow considered a good idea? I think that as always, people want certainty, but certainty itself is the killer of possibility.
Yeah, the idea of trying to capture someone's essence in a computer is like horrifying to me.
I don't like that. I love that line, that the certainty itself is a killer of possibility, because it is. I forgot where I recently heard it, but as soon as you're guaranteed something, you no longer want it. I think what I heard it in reference to like dating.
Okay.
Where if you're trying to like trying to get someone or whatever, but you're already guaranteed that you're going to get them, then you suddenly don't care as much and you suddenly don't want to as much. I
get it, but I also fucking hate it.
Oh yeah.
I think it's really dumb, but
it's just I don't even think it's the nature of a relationship. I think it's just the nature of human beings. Like if you were to know your future exactly, would you be excited about your future?
Probably not.
That's what I mean. Like the certainty itself is a killer of possibility. I think I love not knowing shit. I love not knowing what's happening next, because then it could be anything. Oh, and I could not be poor forever. But for this one, all the backing vocals are done by Jennifer, Lucy Kruger, and Laura Carbone. And on here we got Michael, we got Christoph, of course, Larry Mullins. Dana's playing bass and lap steel, as well as keyboards, some vocals and piano. We got Chris again and Phil. We got Chris and Phil back on bass and drums.
Nice.
Very nice. As well as Ben Frost, which means this is the first album to not have Norman at all.
That is insane.
That makes me sad. I don't like that. I love Norman so much.
Yeah.
I love him as a part of it, but no Norman here. This album was partly funded, of course, by the acoustic demo album, Is There Really a Mind?, which was 2,500 copies of that one. I remember when he put out the call for that one, and I believe it sold out very quickly. But this is from Michael's interview with Tom, and he's talking about the Beggar Lover 3 here. He says, the title of the Beggar Lover 3 is an awkward reference to the album I did in the late 90s called The Body Lovers, number 1 of 3. Somewhere along the line, I think I made a piece that could be considered number 2, and this recent thing is 3. But in any event, I wanted to go into this way of working with sound again. It's really just taking previously recorded elements from Swans music, new recordings made specifically for the piece, and found, quote unquote, non-musical sounds I recorded around the house or in my daily life, putting them all in one place and then diving in and trying to forge a soundscape that is dynamic, moves forward, and has psychological friction and resonance. Chance and serendipity are also a big factor. There's one section, there were elements from 2 different Swans pieces recorded years apart, including my vocal, are working together quite well, I think. It just takes a certain overconfidence that I can make something compelling and hopefully meaningful happen by forcing random elements to a shape that makes sense. Also, it helps to have a stellar engineer to work with, Ingo Kraus at Candy Bomber Studio in Berlin. So that explains a lot of what that fucking song is.
Yeah.
It really is like another Soundtracks for the Blind, just more... I feel a lot more developed and mature and easier to digest. It doesn't have, of course, some of like the crazy long songs that album did, but in terms of like the experimental side of that album, I like this song much more. And if you're going to put them in this similar category, but that's basically it. They're currently on tour. Tom saw them on their first date of the tour in Leipzig, Germany. And he says right here, they'll be heading to the USA and finishing back in Berlin in November. Having seen them on the first date of the tour, how could I refuse the symmetry of seeing them on their final tour date? Because Tom is based in Berlin. And I have to see them on this tour. They're playing in September in LA. I might be in Berlin when they're there, when they're here, which is stupid.
That is stupid.
It is very stupid. So I haven't figured out the logistics, but there's a chance I could see them in Hamburg when they're there. But we'll see, because otherwise I'm fucking flying back to see Swans. I mean, I have to. But Tom says right here, he says, when I interviewed Michael Gira a few months ago, I was given strict instructions that I could ask 10 questions. With my last question, I was dangerously close to being overly familiar, but his answer was so great that I'm glad I asked it. And I want to end the episode on this quote because it's so fucking phenomenal. It is exactly what this band is and what Michael Gira is. So Tom said, there seems to be a sense of almost cosmic peace on the Beggar, or at least acceptance, which feels new. How do you feel? And Michael says, how do I feel? Ask anyone that knows me intimately and they'll tell you that's not a fair question. But really, I'm just as stupefied and awestruck by the raw fact of existence as ever. That's how I feel. As if I've just been punched in the face a split second ago and it doesn't hurt yet.
Man.
Mic drop. Holy shit, dude. Holy shit. That line fucked me up, dude. Oh God, I love this album and this band and this guy. Oh shit, we did it. We did it. We fucking, God damn, dude. Intense.
Man, yeah, I love doing this. I feel like my soul is enriched and dirty, and but I really hope people enjoyed all 3 of these episodes.
I do as well. Please, I mean, these are my favorite episodes to do. Very few bands in the world are as important to me as Swans, so go check those out. This was fucking delight. I'm so grateful that from the first episode, we ended up with so much more insight by the last episode.
Yeah.
The actual hands-on interview with Michael, fucking being able to get the album early so we can actually listen to it properly. Endlessly grateful. This is fucking rad, dude. This pod rules, dude.
It is a surreal experience.
Fuck yes. So thank you so much for listening and watching and hanging out and being a Swans fan also, because why else would you sit through over 3 hours of people talking about a band you don't like? Let's do a little recap.
For me, best personal favorite, To Be Kind. But all these albums are amazing. And then least worst, The Glowing Man, just kind of inconsistent for me, but check it out.
For me, My Father Will Guide Me Up a Rope to the Sky, personal favorite. I think the best reunion album ever made. A nice digestible packaging of what this era of Swans kind of does. The Seer, best. Truly a one-of-a-kind fucking album. A journey, a story, a whole book in an album format. God damn.
And an album with the dog's butthole on it.
That most importantly. And The Glowing Man, Worsley's favorite. Great album, but not as you feel them at the end of the rope when you compare it to the previous two. But check out all of them. They're all fucking phenomenal. Check out The Beggar, of course, which just came out. Support it. For the love of God, support it. This band has never not struggled. Fucking give them your money. Buy the album, please, for the love of Christ. It's very good. Okay. Now we're done with that. Thank you so much for listening and watching and hanging out. And you, of course, like the video, leave comments, talk some shit, do that. Follow me on all social media at PanderMonkey and Alex on Instagram at
Every Album Alex.
Please support our history guy, Tom Osman, who's done so much for us. Tom Osman Sounds on all social media, as well as TomOsmanSounds.com for all his music. And his albums, so much for All in a Day's Work and Industrial State of Mind. Links to all of that in the description. In addition to his Substack, TomOsman.substack.com. He's a hard worker and he's fucking a smooth talker. The man just figures out ways to get shit done. It's extremely impressive. And my debut EP, Pander Monkey, which actually is 1 year old tomorrow as of the release of this video. So listen to that. There's a link to that in the description. And we cannot forget patreon.com/everyalbumever.
Please, for the love of God.
We're dying here. Bonus episodes. You get to see our schedule in advance, vote on polls to decide who we cover next. You get to join our Discord and suggest our EAE singles episodes. If you're tier 2, you can suggest a full ass discography, preferably not one as lengthy as Swans.
We picked this one. We did this to ourselves.
Yes, and we also split it up over the course of like 30 weeks. So
maybe even a whole year.
almost a whole year. Yeah, we took a long time to finish this one.
Are we 4 or 5 years old now?
Almost, not quite. In a couple months, we'll be 4 years old.
Okay.
But don't go there, do that. Thank you, please. And to close things out, I don't want to end it with a giant epic.
There's no way around it. There's no way around it. Like, you just have to.
Here's the thing. There is a way around it.
Okay.
That I feel, and it's not even just like, I don't want to put on a long songs. I'm going to put on this one that's also good.
Okay.
It's one that I love.
Okay.
We're ending it with Jim, baby.
Okay.
You don't seem very excited, but it's okay. I'm excited.
No, I remember Jim. I had to think about where Jim was, but no.
That is the first
Yes.
one.
Okay.
Hell yeah. So thank you so much for listening and watching. See ya.
I'm ready when you guys is. Rolling, Jason.